Chapter 618. The Hunt Family and the Cure. As Rixton mentioned, the heart inside the ice crystal belonged to an ice-breathing dragon that lived in the treacherous ocean. It was the last of his kind. After the war between beast men and the dragons, as well as the dragon clan's sudden disappearance, only a few dragons lived in the treacherous ocean. The ice-breathing dragon was one of them. The dragon's coldness could shatter even a fusion-stage cultivator's body. Since it lived in a treacherous ocean, none dared to bother the dragon until a brave adventurer managed to collect a few body parts of the dragon. As soon as Michael heard Rixton, he desired to get the heart for Nightmare. He could think of a few potions that could use the dragon's heart as an ingredient to give Nightmare a new ability. However, he doubted he could get his hands on the dragon's heart. If I started to list out the things you can do with the ice dragon's heart, we will all have to be here the whole day. So, I would directly begin the bidding instead of wasting everyone's time. The starting price of this treasure is 10 million. People gasped for air in shock after hearing the outrageous price. 20 million, right out of the bat. A noble doubled the bid by placing a 20 million bid. That's my current net worth, Michael sighed, thinking how poor he is compared to the nobles in R. 25 million, another man shouted from a VIP room. 50 million. Not even a couple of minutes passed since Rixton started the bid, but they had already hit the 50 million mark. It was truly outstanding. Am I jealous of them? Michael questioned himself after seeing the real wealthy people showing how rich they are to the world. Michael was taken aback by surprise. Someone had increased the body by 25 million like it was nothing. Michael activated his thermal vision to locate the rich noble. His eyes scanned all the VIP rooms, but unfortunately, the one who bid was adjacent to their VIP room, which prevented Michael from looking at them. Unless Michael could get his head through the glass, he wouldn't be able to see the nobles. Michael had no idea these nobles who occupied the room next were Thusians. 55 million. A lady with a melodious voice bid for the heart next. 70 million. The Thusians raised the bid once again, and this time, none bid against them. The ice dragon heart was a rare thing, but they didn't think it was worth 70 million. Who are these people? Nightmare asked, shocked by their wealth. They forked up 70 million like it was nothing. Although Gaia was a princess, she had never touched spent coins as lavishly as the other princesses because she knew how hard it was to earn them. Unfortunately, Salisi, Gaia's stepmother, didn't share her thoughts. Thus, she spent the coins on all kinds of expenses, driving the kingdom to near bankruptcy. Gaia knew the value of gold coins more than anyone. So naturally, she hated the nobles for giving away 70 million as there was no need to go that high. They could have increased the bid bit by bit and bought the dragon's heart for 60 million. Since it wasn't her coins, Gaia didn't bother to say anything. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Sold to VIP number 2, the Thusians. The moment Rixton uttered the word Thusians, Eve felt the temperature in the room drop by several degrees. Nightmare and Gaia immediately glared at Michael to see his eyes reddening. Not only did the veins in his eyes pop, but also the veins on his face bulged. Even with Michael's control over anger, he failed to remain calm when he heard the word Thusians. Ghost. Eve noticed the changes on his face. She slowly placed her hand on his shoulder, asking worriedly, "Are you all right? Why wouldn't he be?" Gaia quickly answered Eve before Eve could make any connection between Michael and Kingdom Thusia. "I am fine." Michael took a deep breath. He could vividly see the images of his sanctuary burning, his elders drawing their last breath, the Thusian soldiers brutally murdering everyone he knew and beating him to death flashed. He would give anything to seek revenge against the Thusians. If it wasn't for the soul part that grew on Earth, Michael would have gone to the VIP room and started massacring them without a shred of mercy. Squeezing Michael's hand, Gaia wordlessly told him to remain calm. "I am fine. Just remembered some things that I don't want to," Michael said, taking a few deep breaths. "The next thing we will show you is a last-minute addition to the auction items. I am positive that all of you have heard about the Molten Plague. Kingdom Thera has been put on lockdown because of this plague. Although we haven't heard of anyone falling sick to the plague outside Thera, we cannot be sure. These are trying times. But if you have a loved one suffering from the Molten Plague or just want to be safe, worry not. The Aqua Palace acquired a cure for the plague." Upon hearing Rixton's words, the Golden Prince leaned forward on his sofa. "So the spies are right. Someone did come up with a cure." The Golden Prince rubbed his chin. Unlike the other VIPs, the Golden Prince didn't have any guards around him. He came here alone, seeking the truth behind the alleged cure. On the ground, Rick's tongue flicked his wrist as a vial with glistening purple liquid emerged from the ground atop a pillar. We have examined the potion and can say with utmost certainty that this potion not only cures the molten plague but prevents anyone from getting infected by the plague. This miraculous cure was brewed by the #1 alchemist in Elon, Master Ghost. As per the deal, Rick's tongue promoted Michael on the grand stage. Ghost! The Golden Prince tilted his head, searching through his memories to see if he had heard such a name before. In fact, many nobles did the same, but only a few heard the name Ghost. These nobles had some connections to Azair and Elon, unlike the rest, who failed to recognize Michael. But, of course, the handful of nobles who recognized Michael included the Thusians. After all, Michael was the Thusian Alchemy Guild's leader. So naturally, they heard about Ghost even though they had never met him eye to eye. These Thusians even had the audacity to feel proud, except for a few who opposed Ghost for giving the cure to Aqua Palace instead of His Majesty Maxim Barnes. The starting bid for this potion that would change the fate of Aur is 5 million gold coins. 7 million, Michael heard a stoic voice for the first time. Michael didn't see the man, but his voice made Michael imagine a Viking with a full beard and muscular body. Because the voice was rough, thick, and heavy. 10 million. This chapter upload first at NovelBin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit NovelNext.com to experience faster update speed despite the bids. Eve saw no happiness in either of their faces. Yet, Eve chose not to question them as she heard about their deal with the Aqua Palace from Michael himself. No matter how much the nobles paid for the cure, Michael wouldn't get a single coin. Instead, all the coins would go to the Aqua Palace as a part of their deal. After putting the cure on the market, Gaia knew they couldn't put a 10 million price tag on the potion. Ultimately, only a small percentage in Aur could afford something priced at 10 million. So, to maximize their profits and sales, they had to come up with a lower price and wholesale the potions to each ruler in Aur. These kings and queens would then distribute the cures to their citizens. 12 million, a man raised the bid. 20 million, 22 million, Michael heard the nobles rapidly raising the price of his potion. However, he was surprised to see the Golden Prince remaining silent the entire time. He or the Thusians didn't bid because the Golden Prince knew the Aqua Palace would start distributing the potions for a much lower price, and the Thusians knew they could get the cure from the man who brewed the cure himself. So the two parties chose not to bid for the cure. The Hunt family bids 25 million. The rough voice resonated in the arena yet again. As soon as everyone heard the voice, the bidding war had just stopped. None dared to bid against the man afterward. Aur had many prominent noble families, and the Hunt family was the second most powerful family among them. This multiracial family was only second to the Gondolin royal family in terms of wealth and power. The Hunt family was known to produce prodigies, including the late Harriet Hunt. The latter shook the entire world with her heaven-defying cultivation. The Empress herself feared that Harriet might overtake her in cultivation with enough time. It was a pity that Harriet Hunt and her two sisters died in an unforeseen accident. Even after her death, many academies in Aur taught their disciples about Harriet. Moreover, the Empress erected a statue of Harriet in Gondolin's capital as a sign of respect for Harriet Hunt. However, none of them had any idea that Harriet Hunt was very much alive and living as Diana Winston in Elon. The Hunts are here, huh? Now I have a feeling we might get some entertainment after the auction, Gaia grinned. She couldn't believe they were between the Thusians and the Hunts. After noticing the silence, Rixton looked at the VIP room next to Michael's. Sold for 25 million to the Hunts. Michael paid no mind to the Hunts. As far as he was concerned, they were just another one of the powerful families in Aur. Ignoring the Hunts, Michael focused more on figuring out the most brutal way to kill the Thusians next to him. Following the cure, Rixton brought 3 more treasures one after another. These 3 treasures were respectively obtained by the Hunt family, Thusians, and the Brugo family, which hailed from the kingdom of orcs. Many nobles, like the Golden Prince, didn't bother to bid for these items because they knew these items were just a warm-up. The real treasures would only appear later in the auction. The auction lasted for 2 hours with no items that interested Michael or Eve. Eventually, Rixton took a deep breath. The first day of the auction concludes now. Please return here tomorrow morning for the second day of Aqua Auction, Rixton said before ascending to the sky. Meanwhile, the crowd slowly began to disperse, including the VIPs. I hope you two don't mind staying in one room, Eve playfully winked at Gaia. All the rooms are booked. So I could only book 2. One for me and one for the 3 of you. Chapter 619. Marriage of Ghost and Victoria. The Voldegards booked a room in a luxurious tavern. The ground floor was an inn that had several people drinking and dancing. Michael, however, was not in the mood to mingle with the ground. Instead, he and Gaia followed Eve behind until they reached the wooden door. This is your room. If you need something, I am just a door away, Eve said as Michael twisted the metal knob, opening the door with a small creak. See you tomorrow, Michael nodded at Eve before walking into his room with Gaia. The room was clean, neat, and cozy. There was a white queen bed big enough for Michael and Gaia, a large window draped with an orange curtain, blocking the light, and a small round table with a couple of red chairs for them to dine in. Nightmare leaped onto the bed and bounced on it to see how bumpy the bed was. Thusians, huh? Gaia asked, closing the door behind her. The room fell silent as Michael just leaned on the wall watching the busy streets through the cracks between the curtains. If it makes you any better, we can go kill them, Gaia came to his side. She slowly hugged him from behind and rested her head on his shoulder. Immediately, Michael felt the light jasmine fragrance coming from her. Her hug was tight and warm. It had a certain magical effect to make him smile for a moment. Put simply, Michael was already planning on it. The best way to contain his anger was to blow off some steam. Otherwise, his mind wouldn't work at full capacity. As a result, he might make mistakes. Michael did not want to make any mistakes, especially now with the sea folks on his tail. Therefore, Michael decided to kill the Thusians. However, he had to wait till the night falls when his power would grow significantly. Meanwhile, Michael sent a couple of drones to follow the Thusians and ordered Azazel to watch the feed. Michael ordered Azazel to inform him as soon as possible in case something felt wrong. After Heinberg's death, Michael was thinking of something permanent to watch over the feeds coming from the spiders. Since Azazel was in physical form, he would be more useful to Michael outside the dark forest than inside. He wanted something else to take Azazel's place of watching the feed. Why don't we go into their room, make them weaker with the plague and kill them nice and slowly? Gaia slowly ran her fingers through Michael's chest. Her voice was extremely seductive. If it wasn't for his promise that he wouldn't take her before the marriage, he would have been on the bed right now. But even her seductive tone couldn't take his mind off of the Thusians. Every time he blinked, he could see nothing but dead bodies and the burning sanctuary. After merging with all the soul pieces, the feeling of betrayal became several times stronger. At that moment, he would give anything to wipe out Thusia from existence. Hey Gaia, Michael turned around to look her in her eyes. What do you say we go to Thusia after coming out of Mazeroth? Asked Michael. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. I thought you'd never ask. Gaia headbutted Michael gently. Initially, Gaia thought her life was a tragedy. But her life seemed all rainbows and butterflies compared to Michael's. So Gaia wanted to help him destroy Thusia before dealing with her own kingdom. To be honest, she felt no rush to visit Nagaland until at least she was at fusion stage. It's time I pay them back for what they did to me. Michael and Gaia silently waited till nightfall. Today the sky was pitch black without a moon or any stars. When the previously busy steers became void of any crowd, Michael and Gaia flew through the window. Michael headed towards the tavern where the Thusians were staying. For some reason, the Thusians decided to stay in a tavern in the middle of a forest. Granted, Michael could see the crystal blue lake outside the tavern, giving the customers a nice view. Inside the tavern, one minister at soul refining stage and 3 elders at fusion stage sat before a fireplace, enjoying the hot coffee. The red-haired minister leaned back on his chair, gazing at the ice crystal in his hand. The Thusians could hardly see the triangular-shaped heart trapped within the ice crystal. Give it to me, Ryda. I want to take a look at it. Freddy, who was a dark-haired lean man, furrowed his gaze. The 4 of them were best friends long before Ryda had become a minister. Thus, they called each by their name instead of any honorifics. I bought it so I get to hold it, Ryda chuckled. While the 4 friends were having a good time under the fireplace's warmth, they noticed a group of elves entering the hall through the wooden door. These elves seemed to be guarding the elven woman in the middle. Ignoring their gazes, the elves climbed the stairs to get to the 2nd floor. I have seen her somewhere. Ryder rubbed his chin. He poked every corner of his brain to see where he met her. She seemed awfully familiar to Ryda. Hey Dumbo, didn't you see the single silver leaf symbol on their chests? They are the Valron family. Freddy rolled his eyes. The Valrons were another powerful family in Aur, but they were not from Gondolin. Rather, the Valrons hailed from Sil Allery. Since the Valrons were relatives to Sil Allery's king Lycler Allery, the Valrons held unprecedented power within Sil Allery. Coupled with the fact that one of the Valrons was an Alpha Guardian, none dared to cross the Valrons in Sil Allery. After hearing Freddy, Ryda had a moment of realization. She is Tanulia Valron. I knew I saw her somewhere. She visited Thusia and met with Her Royal Highness, didn't she? Ryda recalled Tanulia meeting with Victoria a few months ago before the latter went to Mazeroth. They didn't know why they met, but the rumors have that Tanulia offered Victoria a position in the Guardian Guild. The rumor hadn't specified whether Victoria accepted it or not. But as far as Ryda could tell, King Maxim Barnes didn't have a good thought about the Guardian Guild. So it was highly unlikely for the princess to join the Guardian Guild. Did they bid for anything? Asked Freddy. I don't think so, answered another one. They must be saving their coins for something else. I was pretty shocked that they didn't go for the Molten Plague cure, Ryda said. I am pretty shocked that ungrateful brat didn't give us the cure in the first place, Freddy snickered. Among the four friends, Freddy was the one who disliked Ghost for striking a deal with the Aqua Palace instead of giving the cure for free to them. He felt Ghost was obliged to do that since they hired him as their Alchemy Guild's leader. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. You should vent all your anger while you still can, Freddy. You might not get a chance to do so in the future, Ryda said. As a minister, he received insights into Maxim Barnes' decision more than his friends. One of those hot insights was Victoria's suitors. What? Freddy asked. His Majesty is thinking of marrying Her Royal Highness to Ghost, said Ryda calmly. The moment Freddy and the others heard him, their bodies went rigid. They were startled as Freddy creased his brows. You're kidding? I kid you not. I heard this from one of Her Highness' friends. Ryda took a long breath. They've been thinking about this for some time. I think we will hear more about this once Her Royal Highness returns from Mazeroth, Ryda explained. Unlike Michael, Victoria chose to stay in Mazeroth instead of leaving for the holidays. The sole reason for her visit to Mazeroth was to locate the primordial flames. The cold flames might have gone out of her reach, but she wanted to find the second flame she saw in the save, the mysterious black flames. She stayed behind to locate this flame no matter what. What the hell? The last time I checked, he wasn't a noble by birth, Freddy protested. He was born and raised into a prominent noble family. As a result, Freddy treated the people who weren't nobles like dirt. In simple terms, he was a fascist. In fact, Freddy was one of the few who protested not to offer Ghost a position in their guild. True to his words, Freddy tried his best to block the offer. Nonetheless, Maxim Barnes overthrew their opinions and ordered Calvin to hire Ghost. If Freddy valued nobility, Maxim valued power. He wanted talented and powerful people to serve him instead of others. That way, he could rule the entire world in the future. With the cosmic stream, his dream wasn't too far. Do you think His Majesty will give a shit about nobility in this case? He is a heaven-defying prodigy, 5-star alchemist and now, the King of Bredia. To be honest, he is no lesser than Her Royal Highness in any way. I am with Ryda on this one, a bald-headed man named Sindre sided with Ryda. I heard about Ghost. His achievements are quite shocking. With time and resources, he might hit the fusion stage within a few years from now on. Once he reaches the fusion stage, I won't be surprised if the Empress herself asked his hand in marriage for one of her daughters. So what if that happens, huh? Do you expect Her Royal Highness to be his secondary queen? Freddy asked with a tinge of fury in his eyes. That's for His Majesty to figure out. Just lay back and relax. We don't get paid to think about their family affairs, Sindre replied. Chadak. Suddenly as they were talking, they heard thudding footsteps above them. Did you hear that? They all quickly spread their senses to see if there was someone outside. However, their senses picked up nothing. Might be a cat or something. Ryda refused to pay much mind to the footsteps. After all, he didn't need to worry about security as the place had runes and arrays to stop and neutralize any unauthorized visitors. Chapter 620. Enslaving a god. At that moment, 3 bright lights floated inside a lavish throne hall. The walls surrounding the 3 lights had high, stained glass windows of mesmerizing mosaics concealed by curtains adorned with intricate embroidery and jewels. The thousands of gems on the askew ceiling danced in the flickering light while the 3 lights looked down upon the marble floor of this grand hall. Their energy radiation was none like anyone the mortals have seen except Diana. 22 years ago, these 3 witnessed Wulfric and Andreas performing the forbidden spell on Diana. The 3 of them thought they had closed the chapter of Dark Lord forever until yesterday. He didn't only return to this universe but also had the power to rival them as a celestial being. Just a thought of the Dark Lord made these Sky Hall elders shiver to the core. The 3 lights gradually lost their radiance, showing a silhouette inside each light. How could this be? We were there when the portal to the Void Realm opened. We saw Wulfric and Andreas sending the Dark Lord to Earth. How could this happen? How is he here? A white-haired woman clad in sky-blue armor stepped out of the light. She was tall, stern, and radiated an aura of a warrior. Although she didn't carry a weapon in hand, she seemed like an embodiment of the word warrior. Yet, even a fierce warrior like her stuttered when talking about the Dark Lord. What they witnessed yesterday sent shivers running through their spines. What shocked them further was the Dark Lord sensed their presence. Something must have gone wrong with the ritual. A cold voice resonated in the hall as a short burly figure with a pot belly, thick long bushy beard, and long hair walked out of the light. Even after reaching the celestial stage, the man couldn't stop excluding a drunken Viking vibe. Despite his status, the man only wore leather greaves and leather shoulder armor. We could ask Eladir, but oh wait, he's escaped from his imprisonment. This time, an elven man with haughtiness stepped out of the light. Sarcasm oozed out of his voice. The 3 bright lights faded away, revealing their figures clearly. The warrior lady was a human, the burly man was a dwarf, and finally, the sarcastic man was an elf. The archangels are scouring the Akilun realm as we speak, the lady said. That's what you said a month ago, growled the dwarf. There is no need for any quarrel. In case you 2 have forgotten, we still have trump cards waiting to be used, the elf grinned. True to his word, the elf waved his hand as 2 figures made of smoke appeared before them. Slowly, each smoky figure turned into a young woman. One figure wore armor set with a rounded helm and a face guard. Attached to the forehead area was a crafted leather ornament piece shaped like a lion's mouth. The shoulders were oval, short, and quite large, decorated with 3 big, curved wooden spikes on each side, lined up from back to front. She had a perfectly sculpted face, porcelain skin, and silky raven black hair. The figure floating beside the black-haired girl was a petite, golden-haired girl, dressed in purple robes. She looked a couple of years younger than the black-haired girl, as she still had a tinge of childness on her face. Both these figures remained still with their eyes closed. Looking at the 2 figures, the human lady remained expressionless while the dwarf furrowed his busy brows. Yasmin Winston and Jennifer Voldegard. The elf hovered towards the figures he summoned. He grinned, looking at his handiwork. His hand went straight through their smoky figures when he moved his hand across their bodies. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. The God of Light only has 2 weaknesses. The elf raised 2 fingers, family and love. With them, we can exploit his weaknesses, the elf smirked. Judging by the elf's look, the dwarf knew he had formed a long-time plan way before they actually agreed to clone 2 humans. Usually, the dwarf preferred to end the conflicts with his warhammer, but after taking a glance at the future, even he controlled his lust for battle and decided to be patient. The dwarf turned his head to see the lady remain calm as a lake. She didn't even bat an eye. This is how we beat the God of Light, Thorfinn Borgerson, the elf said, ridiculing the dwarf. Not by sending a bunch of shells to kill him, the elf chuckled again. Seeing the ridicule in the elf's voice, Thorfinn clenched his fist. At least I did something. What were you doing? Sitting on your ass, plotting to get your hands on the holy maiden, Thorfinn growled. Despite the dwarf's growl, the elf remained as playful as ever. What can I say? I like the thrill of the hunt. Shut up, both of you. We just saw the Dark Lord and you 2 are acting like nothing's happening. The lady raised her voice, shutting both of them. Then, she hovered towards Yasmin Winston and Jennifer Voldegard. Like it or not, the Dark Lord is here. Which means, we all failed to imprison him. Did you even bother to think about what's going to happen to our world? Asked the lady, looking at the dwarf and the elf. The images of the future they had seen flashed across their eyes. A universe without any light or happiness, a sky painted with red, and all races void of any will to do anything other than serving the Dark Lord. Those were just a few glimpses. As much as I hate to succumb to this, we have to go with Devdan's plan, the lady looked at the elf. Although Thorfinn firmly believed fighting the Dark Lord and killing him was the only way to permanently fix the problem, he couldn't protest against Devdan. After all, the elf didn't protest when he sent his men after Noah a few months ago. But unfortunately, his men failed miserably. Thorfinn hadn't expected Noah to be that strong. Other than destroying a human restaurant, his men achieved nothing. But Devdan, we cannot kill Noah. Not after we have seen how powerful the Dark Lord is. He may be the only one who could stop him, just as the prophecy said. So what do you want me to do? Send my 2 perfect clones to him and pleasure him on his bed? The elf rolled his eyes, bothering not to tone down the sarcasm in his voice. No. Ignoring Devad's sarcasm, the lady raised her brow like a sword. He is a god. Unlike us, his body and soul would go through metamorphoses while breaking through to the half-immortal stage. Lady Qin Jiao called it stepping into godhood. Once he steps into godhood, the odds of us killing him will plummet. But reaching godhood comes with a price. During his breakthrough, he would be as powerless as a fish in a barrel. We have to take advantage of that time, the lady declared. Her goal was not to kill Noah nor to stop him from reaching godhood. The real goal was to ensure Noah would serve the Sky Hall as his sister. After living their lives as gods in this universe, none of the elders were willing to serve anyone else, including the god of light or the holy maiden herself. I assume you have a plan, including my clones, Devdan asked her. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Do you remember the forbidden spell we used on Diana to alter her memories? She asked as the dwarf and elf slowly nodded their heads. Our rune masters had altered the spell to my preferences. Now we could use the spell on Noah during his ascension to godhood to alter his memories. Once we succeed, the god of light will be our weapon and a slave. Finally, a grin emerged on her face. Just the thought of controlling a god gave a certain pleasure despite the situation. That still doesn't help us locate the Dark Lord. Besides, what if he already knows what we did to him and his family? Asked Thorfinn. If he did, we wouldn't be here talking to each other, Devdan said. No more trying to kill Noah from now on, Thorfinn. Instead, send him a few gifts to make him stronger. He would find the Dark Lord for us. We will end whoever hails victorious in the final battle. The Sky Hall doesn't need a god to serve. The lady turned around and walked away from Thorfinn and Devdan. We are the gods, she exclaimed before vanishing into thin air. After she left the place, Thorfinn turned his focus to the 2 human clones before him. So what the hell happened to the real Yasmin Winston and Jennifer Voldegard? Asked Thorfinn, although he had a good idea about their fate knowing Devdan. You cannot put 2 souls in one body, Thorfinn, said Devdan nonchalantly. Stop your bullshit. You killed them. Killing is a strong word. They sacrificed themselves for the greater good. Isn't that what we all want? Thorfinn felt like coughing up blood. He had lived for hundreds of years, yet he had never seen such a selfish person like Devdan in his life. So hearing the elf talking about sacrificing for the greater good sounded like bullshit to him. Devdan on the other hand just ignored the dwarf's glare. You heard the lady. No more trying to kill Noah, Thorfinn. Keep your dogs on leash. Devdan patted Thorfinn on the shoulder. He then just waved at the smoky figures as they slowly vanished into thin air. Sometimes, Thorfinn wished he could just kill Devdan. Although they had reached the celestial stage and lived for thousands of years, their enmity ran deep. The only thing that kept them from killing each other was their common enemy, the Dark Lord. Otherwise, each elder would have plotted to kill the other and succeeded a long time ago. Think about it, Devdan. I am not a smartass like you, but even I could see if the spell failed to mess with Noah's head, you would end up paying for what you did to his cousin and his sweetheart. So pray to your elven gods for the spell to work. Otherwise, you'd wish my ways had worked. With one last grin, Thorfinn disappeared from the room as well. After they had all left, Devdan waved his hand again. This time, a silhouette resembling Rowena appeared before him. When everything's over, you and I will rule this universe together, darling. You and me. Devdan grinned with eyes full of lust. He had never lusted over a girl in his entire life, let alone a human girl. But something about her made Devdan long for her like crazy. Soon I will get you. Chapter 621. Ambushing Tanulia Valrin. Back in the tavern on the outskirts of Alan Allery, one of the 3 dukedoms and where the Aqua Palace was located, Tanulia Valrin made her way to the carriage waiting outside. The soldiers followed her close despite her cultivation stage. To be honest, she didn't need any protection as she was the strongest among them. Her guards were only at the soul refining stage. The carriage waiting outside was hooked to horses rather than a Pegasus. Upon seeing the moonless sky, the darkness reminded Tanulia of the Dark Lord. Only then did she notice the horses hooked onto the carriage instead of Pegasus. Her furrowed brow made the old man shudder. As a human, the old man knew the elves' tendency to punch the humans. However, he was lucky that Tanulia wasn't in the mood to punish him. Moreover, she felt riding the carriage instead of flying may be a good way to calm her mind and soul. My lady, the Pegasi fell sick. Please forgive my incompetence. The old man quickly dropped to his knee. Rise, Tanulia waved her hand. Just drive the carriage to Thera, Tanulia said before opening the carriage door with a small clicking sound. Yes, my lady. The old man frantically nodded and hopped onto the driver's seat. The surrounding elves were displeased to ride the horses like humans, but they had no choice. After entering the carriage, Tanulia settled onto her seat. A small orb of light illuminated the interior. It was decorated with dark purple walls and cushions to make the journey as cozy as possible. The old man slapped the reins as the horses neighed. The horses then clip-clopped on the pavement built through the forest. Sitting inside the carriage, Tanulia hardly felt any bumps. Tanulia closed the curtains and flicked her wrist. Soon, a golden parchment appeared in her hand. After opening the parchment, she saw a few lines of a message written in a rush. She could hardly make out the words, "The Dark Lord is in Thera." Tanulia mumbled the words written on the parchment. After escaping the Dark Lord's wrath in Dreidel, the elders ordered her to stay as far as possible from the Dark Lord. They didn't want Tanulia to obstruct Mutrad's investigation. However, Tanulia sought revenge. She couldn't help it. After all, her decisions caused the lives of many loyal guardians, including Tiriana and Peyton. Lucifer. Tanulia clenched her fist. There was spite in her voice. Cough, cough. Suddenly, Tanulia coughed twice, closing her mouth. When she moved her hand away from the mouth, she noticed specks of blood on her palm. It had been a couple of days since she had been infected with the molten plague. She prepared to transfer her responsibilities to someone else in the Guardian Guild when she heard about the cure from one of Valrin family allies, the Hunts. According to them, they would have the cures in their hands by next week. For now, Tanulia and her family used the healing potions they stockpiled over the years. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Avenge me if he kills me, Tanulia heard Peyton's voice in her head. As an Alpha Guardian, Tanulia made countless difficult decisions in her life. However, none of them resulted in utter destruction except in the case of the Dark Lord. She thought sacrificing Tiriana to catch the Dark Lord would be worth it. But not only she couldn't catch the Dark Lord, but she also lost Peyton. Moreover, Tanulia heard the elders were considering making Noah an Alpha Guardian once he reaches the fusion stage from the other Alpha Guardians. Although Tanulia had no objection to making Noah an Alpha Guardian, she didn't want Noah to catch the Dark Lord. Because if he did, Noah would prefer to put the Dark Lord in a special prison rather than end his life. Tanulia sought revenge. She wanted to slowly squeeze the life out of the Dark Lord. There was no way in hell Tanulia would let the Dark Lord live after what he did to her men and her ship. She slammed the cushion in anger. Bastard! Tanulia growled. Blood slowly dripped through her nostrils as she clenched her fist tight. She began to feel weak. Hopefully, she will get the cure soon. After wiping off the blood, she wondered when and how she got infected by the molten plague. She looked at the blood on her face and shoved her thoughts to the back of her mind. To everyone's surprise, the horses following the carriage behind neighed. Tanulia quickly put the scroll down and opened the curtains. She then put her head outside to get completely stunned by what she saw. The 5 guards who were following the carriage were nowhere to be seen. Stop! Tanulia ordered the carriage driver. True to her orders, the old man pulled the reins back, slowly stopping the carriage. Before she could step outside the carriage, the old man opened the door for her. Tenulia looked at the shuddering old man. The old man carried a torch to look around. With the torch's dim light, the old man could see horses neighing behind the carriages. To his surprise, the soul refiners riding the horses were nowhere to be seen. What? The old man shuddered. By this time, Tenulia had stepped out of the carriage. She noticed the old man gazing behind the carriage. When she turned her head, she could only see the frightened horses but not her guards. Immediately, Tenulia conjured a ball of light that emanated a bright white light several times brighter than the torch. As she cautiously approached the horses, they neighed louder and louder as though they were frightened by something. She surveyed the sight continuously, careful not to miss the smallest detail. "My lady, where did they go?" the old man asked in a husky voice. There was dread and fear in his voice. One moment the 4 soul refiners were following him behind, and the next moment, they disappeared without a trace. Judging by the frown on her face, the old man didn't think the soul refiners left their horses under her order. Suddenly, the old man heard a rustling sound as he quickly jerked his head in the direction where the sound came. Cough, cough. Tenulia coughed again. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed, she quickly flicked her wrist, taking out a sparkling blue healing potion from her space ring. Without wasting a second, she emptied the potion into her mouth. There was something eerie about this. The horses kept neighing until they suddenly ran off into the sea of trees, disappearing from her sight. Leaves rained down upon them as though it was autumn, and the ground was blanketed by dead leaves. Although Tenulia knew something was obviously wrong and eerie, she was unable to pinpoint it. Aside from the sound of hooves crunching the leaves and the old man's teeth cluttering in fear, the forest was silent. "Make them shut up," Tenulia ordered the old man. The sound of horses neighing annoyed her. "Nothing has happened to me. It's all right," the old man mumbled, shaking the worries from his mind. Once he arrived near the horses, he gently brushed the horse's man to calm it down. With gentle movement, he was able to make one calm, but when he was about to touch the second horse, he felt a strong gust of wind brush past him. The wind almost knocked him down to the ground. The old man couldn't remain calm any longer. His frail legs began to shiver. "Who is there?" snarled Tenulia. Just like the old man, she also felt the gust of wind. Unfortunately, the wind put out the torch, as well as the orb of light floated beside Tenulia. As a result, darkness enveloped them. "My lady!" Suddenly, Tenulia heard a wail of cry resonating from the woods. As though in a queue, several arrows shot out from all directions, penetrating the carriage and Tenulia's hand. "It's an ambush!" shouted the old man. Unsheathing sound echoed through the forest as Tenulia drew the silver sword hanging on her waist. Due to the Molten Plague's effects, Tenulia lost most of her connection to the arch and celestial energy. She swung the sword, cutting some of the arrows in half. As an Alpha Guardian, she was trained to use all the weapons including swords. With precise swings, she was able to defend herself. Despite her weak state, she readied herself to cast a defense shield. But the barrage of arrows stopped. Several dozen arrows riddled the carriage, yet none of them harmed the old man or the 2 horses. The forest was once again quiet, with only the old man's cluttering teeth to cut the silence. Tenulia held the arrow sticking out of her left arm, trembling as blood flowed down. Although the Valron family inquired with the Hunt family about the cure, they did not reveal Tenulia's condition. After all, if the rival families got any whiff of the Valron family having a sick one and a protector at that, the rival families would attack them like a pack of hungry hyenas. When Tenulia thought about it, everything led her to believe this was either a mind-blowing coincidence or a perfectly planned ambush. Except for her parents, no one knew about her sickness, not even her personal guards. The possibility of her being attacked at the precise moment when she was weak and vulnerable was highly unlikely unless someone had planned everything perfectly. Still, the question remained. How did one learn about Tenulia's sickness? "My lady, are you there?" The old man could hardly raise his voice. He just crawled under the carriage and curled into a ball to make himself as small as possible. At the end of the day, he was just a carriage driver who had no obligation to die for the elves. Unlike her personal guards, he was just working for coins. So he would rather save himself than die for Tenulia. Besides, he was not a fighter. The most powerful thing he killed was a wild boar when he went hunting with his 5 friends. "Shut up," Tenulia growled with a tinge of pain and anger in her voice. Twinkle, twinkle little star. Suddenly, a woman's voice reverberated in the area. Tenulia's pain was slowly replaced by shock. She wanted to catch the ambusher, feed her to the dogs and personally hang her by the neck. How I wonder what you are, the mysterious woman spoke slowly. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. As soon as Tenulia heard this phrase, her body went rigid. She had heard these exact words before. To be exact, 25 years ago, when she met the heaven-defying prodigy of the Hunt family, Harriet Hunt. Chapter 622. Gaia versus Harriet. Tenulia gritted her teeth, moving her head to the side. Her pointy ears twitched as she heard a rustling sound from the dark woods. She pulled out the arrow from her hand. Show yourself, Tenulia snarled. She snapped her finger as the torch on the ground lit up. Soon, Tenulia saw a figure walking out of the darkness in the torchlight. The figure wore a dark cloak. Under the cloak showing the glint of metal armor. With every step, a mild clanking sound echoed. However, the metal armor didn't resemble the ones the knights or royal guards wore. Rather, it seemed like the figure etched armor plates into flexible leather armor. Tenulia had fought soldiers wearing metal plate armor before, so she knew the drawbacks of cladding in full metal plate armor. In exchange for protection and defense, they forsake their movement and agility. Who are you? Tenulia asked the figure. Although the figure spoke the exact same words Harriet Hunt used to recite, Tenulia couldn't believe the figure might be the legendary Harriet Hunt. She died in an accident along with her two sisters. Besides, when Tenulia met Harriet 25 years ago, the latter was at the core strengthening stage. With Harriet's cultivation speed, she would have reached at least a fusion stage cultivator by now if she was alive. However, the figure who walked out of the shadows was only a soul refining stage cultivator. There was no way it was Harriet Hunt. To her surprise, the figure didn't attack Tenulia. Instead, the figure kept walking toward her. Tenulia grasped her sword tightly. She readied herself for the upcoming battle. Her instincts screamed at her to leap into the fray. But to his astonishment, the figure didn't even unsheath the two swords that formed an X behind her back. Instead, the figure snapped her finger as several objects hit the ground beside Tenulia without a heavy thudding sound. Tenulia turned her gaze towards the objects only to realize they were her personal guards. In the dim light, Tenulia saw the deep cuts across their necks. They died with their eyes open. Despite their cultivation level, the woman slit their throats without a problem. Tenulia slowly picked herself from the ground. Answer me, snarled Tenulia. With no personal guards and energy, Tenulia knew it was going to be a battle of life or death. The odds were not in her favor. Tenulia Valrin. Next time you want to sacrifice someone else for your benefit, sacrifice yourself, Harriet slowly cracked her knuckles. Boom. Harriet raised her leg, sending a powerful kick to Tenulia's chest. The kick contained enough force to send Tenulia flying and colliding with the carriage. The horses neighed violently. Arg! Tenulia hit the ground with a small thud, a deep growl escaping her mouth. The old man, on the other hand, did not bulge from under the carriage. He just curled himself further, tightly closing his eyes. Through the small gap between the ground and the carriage, the old man saw Tenulia coughing up more blood. A few seconds after Tenulia hit the ground, Harriet dashed at Tenulia in a blink of an eye. The latter just grabbed Tenulia by her hair and picked her up. Thud. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Harriet slammed Tenulia's head against the carriage. Why? Thud. Harriet slammed Tenulia's head again. Can't. Yet again she slammed Tenulia's head. You, again, whore yourself. The carriage trembled each time Harriet slammed Tenulia against it. Cracks began to form in the carriage where Harriet kept slamming Tenulia's head against. Because Tenulia had lost her connection to the energies, her body wasn't strong enough to withstand the blows. As a result, the back of her head split open. To the vampires? Tenulia hit the ground again with a sharp pain in the back of her head. When Harriet picked up Tenulia, the latter mustered all the remaining strength in her body and stabbed Harriet. The pair of killing intent-filled eyes under the dark hood glared at Tenulia before grabbing her sword. Harriet yanked the sword out of Tenulia's hand. Ah! With a roar, Harriet punched Tenulia right in the abdomen. Tenulia managed to block the punch using her forearm. But to Tenulia's horror, The punch carried enough force to make her fly towards a nearby tree. She hit the trunk and splintered wood flew. She coughed as pain coursed through her entire body. Tenulia looked at her arm to see a white bone sticking out in the dim torchlight. Even though Tenulia lost her ability to use energy, she could still gauge someone else's power level. The woman might be at the soul refining stage, but her punch carried the force of a fusion stage cultivator. Tenulia doubted she could fight the woman toe-to-toe with her full cultivation and win. The woman was a monster. Tenulia had no doubt in that matter. By the time Tenulia managed to pick herself up again, Harrier appeared in front of her in a flash. Tenulia could feel the murderous aura radiating from the woman's body. Tenulia had never felt such killing intent. It was as though the woman craved taking her life in the most brutal way possible. But no matter what, Tenulia wouldn't go without a fight or beg for mercy. Tenulia was coughing hard as her chest was rising and falling rapidly. But she was standing. Her entire body was riddled with cuts and bruises. Blood dripped from her wounds, covering the ground under her feet. Despite the injuries, the fighting spirit in Tenulia's eyes continued blazing. Tenulia wiped the blood coming from a cut on his lips. On the other hand, Harriet put a pause on hitting Tenulia. Instead, stabbed her black sword into the tree just a few inches above Tenulia. Coward! Tenulia spat on Harriet's face. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Ignoring the bloody saliva on her dark mask, Harriet took a step back. She slowly pushed back the cloak, revealing her long raven black hair. This mask I wear is not for me. It's to protect the people I care about. I put it down for some time, only to realize people like you will always try to harm them one way or another. Would you like to see me without my mask? Asked Harriet. Under Tenulia's gaze, Harriet slowly removed the black mask to reveal her face in the dim light. And the moment Tenulia laid her eyes on Harriet, she was stupefied. No! Tenulia mumbled. It was Harriet Hunt herself standing in front of her. Tenulia thought she died. Not only Tenulia but the entire aura thought she had died. However, there was no doubt in Tenulia's mind. She was Harriet Hunt. The heaven-defying prodigy was too special of a person for Tenulia to forget. You! Words didn't come out of Tenulia's mouth. How did you? Harriet did not reply. She threw the mask onto the ground and cracked her fists. Without giving any time for Tenulia to react, Harriet began to punch her rapidly. The images of Sabrina getting tortured by the vampires flashed across Harriet's eyes. Her rage multiplied by several folds when she thought about Sabrina and Tenulia's involvement. For the first 20 to 30 punches, Tenulia tried to block. But as time went by, Harriet's punches became more violent and powerful. The light in Tenulia's eyes slowly started to fade away as her legs gave up. Still, Harriet grabbed her by her neck and kept punching Tenulia in the chest using the other bloody fist. Blood spurted out from Tenulia's chest as Harriet rained down violent punches. A few seconds later, Tenulia's chest caved in. When the light in Tenulia's eyes was completely dimmed, Harriet threw Tenulia's body into the air above like the elf weighed nothing. When Tenulia hit a certain height in the air, gravity pulled her down to the ground. Seeing Tenulia coming down, Harriet twisted the sword she stabbed in the tree. Just like she calculated, Tenulia's neck came into contact with the blade. Blood sprayed out as her head was severed from her body. It flew into the air and dropped and rolled onto the air. Harriet noticed there were tears in the corner of Tenulia's eyes. Was it rage, shock, or regret? Harriet did not know. To be honest, there was no need to find the answer. Tenulia sent Sabrina into a trap, knowing what the vampires would do to her. Harriet had to kill Tenulia before she could harm her family any more than she had already. Harriet felt no regret or remorse. Not even a bit. If roles were changed and she hurt one of the Valrons, Harriet doubted Tenulia would show her any mercy. A while later, the headless body hit the ground. Harriet turned her gaze to the body, noticing the glowing rune on Tenulia's chest. If Harriet had severed Tenulia's head herself, the rune would have transferred itself to her, and the Valrons would have come seeking revenge. However, Tenulia died by falling from the air and cutting her head with the sword. So the rune had no living person to attach itself to. This was a small trick Harriet picked when she trained under Wulfric. Even after killing Tenulia, Harriet's anger didn't lose its flame. On the contrary, it blazed brighter and hotter. But for now, She took a deep breath and extended her arm towards the mask as it flew straight into her hand. Harriet wore the mask and pulled back the hood to cover her head. After taking several steps away from the head and Tanulia's body, Harriet looked at the sky. The moonless sky. The moonless sky reminded Harriet of the night she had lost Dean. She may have failed to protect him once, but the gods have given her a second chance. She had waited for this moment. With Tanulia out of the way, her son Ghost would have an easier time hiding his other persona. "This is what you get for messing with House of Halrid," Harriet spoke, loud enough for the old man hiding under the carriage to hear. Having a conversation with Alicia about House of Halrid's involvement in Peyton's murder helped Harriet sow an enmity between House Halrid and House Valron. Simply put, Harriet got two birds with one stone. She couldn't wait to see the treacherous guardians go against the House of Halrid. Chapter 623. Gaia vs. Harriet 2. After killing Tanulia, Harriet ready to leave the area. Just as she was about to disappear into the woods, Harriet heard a rustling sound. Harriet paused on her steps, waiting for another one to walk out of the shadows. As Harriet expected, a figure clad in black armor from head to toe emerged from the woods. Just with a single look, Harriet could tell the figure was a woman due to the perfect hourglass structure and the way she walked toward her. Harriet stared at the crimson red glistening under the dark hood. "Would you answer me if I asked who you are?" Harriet heard the woman talk. There was a shock in her voice. Her glistening eyes looked around the place. They briefly paused at Tanulia's head. Harriet swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Her heartbeat rose. There was no way Harriet would fight the girl before her. It was not because Harriet feared her but because Harriet knew the girl's identity. Under all the armor and hood, Harriet knew it was Elia, her son Ghost's fiancée. Since Harriet knew the Dark Lord was Ghost, naturally his fiancée would be the Dark Queen. Unlike Noah, Ghost dedicated himself to one woman. So it wasn't hard for Harriet to see through Gaia's disguise. "I wish I could answer you," Harriet sighed. "The Dark Lord wants to see you, woman. So it would be wise to accept the invitation," Gaia said in her demonic voice. To Michael and Gaia's surprise, when Michael and Gaia arrived at the inn, they saw Tanulia Valron. Initially, they planned to murder the Thusians, but after seeing Tanulia, they changed their plans. Michael chose the Thusians, while Gaia decided to follow Tanulia with the weaponized plague to weaken Tanulia and her men. However, she was utterly stunned when she noticed someone else was following Tanulia. Moreover, Gaia saw the woman effortlessly taking out 4 soul refiners like they were nothing. Due to her curious nature, Gaia stood behind and watched everything. She was completely taken aback to see the woman brutally murder Tanulia. "I can't ask you to trust me, but step aside." "We don't have to do this," Harriet exclaimed. Gaia was surprised to hear the tinge of helplessness in the woman's voice. She was a soul-refining stage level 5 cultivator. Thus, Gaia knew the woman had nothing to fear her. In fact, after seeing how she handled herself, Gaia was sure the woman could fight her toe-to-toe. Yet, the woman seemed to want to avoid the battle. "You are right. We don't have to. So come with me. I give you my word the Dark Lord won't harm you." Gaia had no intention of fighting the mysterious woman. As far as Gaia could tell, she shared the same hatred for the Guardians like Michael and her. So Gaia wanted to make the woman their subordinate. A powerful fighter such as her would make an excellent subordinate. Taking a deep breath, Harriet looked over her shoulder to see the old man, lying under the carriage without moving an inch. "He is not dead, just sleeping," Gaia said. Before Gaia approached Harriet, she knocked out the old man so the old man wouldn't listen to their conversation. "What about this? Let's have a friendly battle. Whoever lands the first blow wins," Harriet said. "If that's what you want, so be it. If I win, you come with me. If you win, I'll let you go," Gaia agreed. However, Gaia had already surrounded the forest with spiders and drones. Even if Gaia couldn't beat the woman, she could follow the mysterious woman using the spiders and drones. To be honest, Gaia wasn't completely confident she could defeat the mysterious woman. As a warrior, Gaia was able to tell the mysterious woman was someone who had experienced hundreds of battles. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. "I have to bring her to Michael," Gaia said to herself. She heard the mysterious woman recite a phrase similar to Michael's. Gaia wondered whether she could be connected to Michael somehow. Harriet, on the other hand, hated to fight her daughter-in-law. Elia was her family, but Harriet would rather fight Elia than her own son. She had a better chance of defeating Elia than Dean. Suppose Dean recognized her face, everything Harriet had done would go in vain. No matter what happened, she must protect her identity. Gaia slowly made her way to Harriet. To Gaia's surprise, Harriet didn't unsheath her swords. Instead, she just cracked her knuckles. Upon getting closer to Harriet, Gaia released the fear toxin from her suit of armor. However, Harriet noticed the change in the air. Fortunately, she was immune to all the poisons and illnesses thanks to her ancient god Aurora's blood coursing through her veins. When Gaia and Harriet met in the middle, Gaia threw her fist, aiming for Harriet's head. The latter managed to bend back and avoid the fist. As soon as Harriet dodged the fist, she raised her leg to kick Gaia in the abdomen, but the latter swayed her body to the side, avoiding the kick. Without giving Harriet a second to react, Gaia leaped into the air, attempting to land a kick on Harriet's head. Check, check, check. Harriet kept blocking the kicks using her hands as Gaia traveled in the air for a couple of minutes. Blocking her kicks, Harriet's hands started to numb, but she continued to do so. Finally, after blocking almost 60 kicks, Harriet grabbed Gaia's leg and threw her against a nearby tree. Yet, Gaia managed to kick the tree, stopping herself from colliding with the tree. Her kick had enough power to create cracks in the bark. Splinters flew in all directions as the leaves rained down due to the force. Before her feet could touch the ground, Gaia boosted herself using the tree and shot toward Harriet like an arrow. Her shockwave created by Gaia's boost obliterated the poor tree into pieces. Harriet was surprised to see Elia's speed and her battle awareness. The dormant warrior deep down Harriet woke up excitedly. When Gaia's fist was about to hit Harriet's face, Harriet spun around to kick Gaia in the face. Just as she surprised Harriet, the latter surprised Gaia. Luckily, Gaia managed to grab Harriet's leg as they both fell to the ground. They both quickly kicked up almost at the same time. "You are good," Gaia said, admiring the mysterious woman. "I can say the same to you," Harriet said. Her son's choice was spot on. Elia was a perfect match for him in every way. It was a pity Harriet had to fight her loving daughter-in-law. "You don't want to use those swords?" asked Gaia. She wanted to see if this woman possessed the same fighting style as Ghost. "You are an archer, not a swordsman," Harriet calmly said, surprising Gaia. Gaia couldn't help raising her brow behind her mask. How did she? "Might be a lucky guess." Gaia shook off the doubts in her head. "I don't want to hurt you, but I don't want to hold back either. After all, the longer we stay here, the less safe we are," said Harriet. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Gaia and Harriet began to walk in a circle, keeping 5 meters distance from each other. They were poised to defend themselves from the other. "You could come with me," Gaia kidded as Harriet sighed. She almost wished she could go with Elia and tell her son everything. However, she did not want to put her son in more danger than he was already in case Skyhall was watching her, meeting her son would be like leading them straight to their target. So until she kills the Skyhall elders, she wouldn't meet Dean, although she wanted nothing more than to meet him and tell him she was his mother. "Let's finish our little duel." Harriet cracked her neck. As soon as she did this little movement, Gaia creased her brows. She had seen Michael do the same as the mysterious woman did. Coupled with the rhyme she recited, Gaia was almost sure this mysterious woman was somehow connected to Michael. But who she was to Michael remained the question. Besides her shock, Gaia wondered how she was still standing instead of trembling due to the fear toxin's effects. Yet, the woman didn't reveal a single sign of distress as Gaia expected. Whoosh! As Gaia was in doubt, Harriet dashed at her. This time, Harriet's speed was several times faster than before. Gaia could only see a blue, not her entire figure. Still, Gaia's battle instincts made her sway her body and bend down to evade Harriet's punch. Her evasion was short-lived as Harriet grabbed Gaia's hand in the blink of an eye and twisted it back. "Arg!" Gaia growled, running towards a nearby tree. Before Harriet could punch Gaia in the gut to land the first blow, Gaia ran onto the tree, twisted her body, and jumped back, releasing her hand from Harriet's clutch. As soon as Harriet heard Gaia's feet hitting the ground behind her, she punched the tree in front of her. Her punch contained enough force to create a shockwave that put a hole in the tree and created a shockwave. The shockwave blasted both of them backward, knocking Gaia off balance. As a result, Gaia lost her chance to punch Harriet in the back. At this moment, Harriet's battle experience provided her an edge over Gaia. Harriet leaped up, going upside down directly above Gaia's head. Then, she quickly grabbed Gaia by her shoulder and squeezed hard enough to make Gaia growl in pain. Gaia felt a sharp pain in her shoulder. She wanted to dash away, but her body refused to move. It felt as though her body was paralyzed. "What did you?" Gaia's voice trailed off. "If God's permits, I will teach you this technique." Harriet landed behind Gaia, whispering into her ears. "I win." Harriet gently punched Gaia in the shoulder instead of punching her like she punched Tanulia. "Wait!" Gaia tried to stop Harriet only to see her exhale deeply before flying into the sea of trees. "Michael." Gaia sent a sliver of arch energy to the earpiece in her ear to connect to Michael. Gaia heard a click in her ears. "Are you in danger?" Then, she heard Michael. There was spite in his voice. "No," Gaia answered Michael. "Good. Whatever it is, it can wait. I am busy murdering these Thusian pigs." Chapter 624. First step in destroying Thusia. After the Valrans left the inn, the Thusians had the place to themselves. Except for the girl the king sent with them, they all remained in the hall, enjoying their hot beverage and the fireplace. Unknowing to them, a fifth figure entered the tavern through the roof. "What do you think we'll get tomorrow?" Freddy asked Ryda and the others. "I have no idea. The Aqua Palace keeps a tight lid on the items for the upcoming rounds. We can get information about the warm-up items, but it's impossible to get something about the others. But whatever they are, His Majesty gave me full authority to buy whatever I see that would make Thusia stronger," said Ryda with a tinge of pride in his voice. Not every day the king trusted Ryda with an important task such as acquiring rare and valuable items for Thusia. "Don't be too haughty, Ryda." Seeing the grin on Ryda's face, Freddy rolled his eyes. "The king doesn't trust you. If he did, he would have given the coins to you instead of her." His words drained the smile on Ryda's face. Although he didn't want to admit it, he knew that was the truth deep down. The king trusted the girl more than he trusted his ministers. "Speaking of, is there something else going on with the girl?" "What do you mean?" Freddy turned his gaze towards the bald man. "The queen is awfully chummy with the girl. I get that she is Princess Victoria's best friend and all that. But it seems like she is more than that." Ryda, Freddy, and the red-haired man who remained silent the whole time creased their brows. "Oh come on, we are all thinking about it. There is no one here listening to us." The bold guy once again rolled his big eyes. "Then speak your mind, Baldy," Freddy said. "I think the king has a soft spot for her," Baldy whispered to the other four. "Rumor has it King Maxim loved her big sister but couldn't get her. Instead, the king had to marry Queen Valeria." "Really? But who was she?" "If King Maxim was in love with her, she must have been something else," asked Freddy. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed in Thusia. Everyone knew Edith as Victoria's best friend. However, none of them knew about Edith's family background, including the ministers and prominent figures, except a few. Since Baldy mostly worked with the thieves and underground criminals in Thusia, he was able to get juicy rumors about everyone in Thusia, including the king. "I don't know. Princess is keeping her identity tightly shut for some reason," said Baldy as he leaned closer to them. "There might be a chance King Maxim is looking to marry her as his second queen. Since kings marrying several girls was a normal thing, they weren't surprised as Michael, who listened to their conversation through a spider. So he wants to get the little fish since he couldn't get the big one?" Ryda chuckled. They knew about King Maxim's thirst for power and stubbornness to get whatever he wanted no matter the cost. So it wouldn't surprise them if King Maxim married Edith despite their age difference. Yet again, the age difference wasn't a big deal among the cultivators. If I am right, Edith's sister might be a prominent figure somewhere. Suppose King Maxim married Edith, her big sister would be obliged to aid Thusia in the wars. "It's a win-win for the king," Freddy said as the others gave him a slow nod. "Wars? They are coming to an end in a few months. General Booth is literally killing thousands out there." Ryda raised 3 fingers. "I'll give you 3 months. In that time, Thusia will annex all those who stood against us and become the largest kingdom in Azair. After that, General Booth will be named the Duke of Valeria." Michael, who heard the name, clenched his fist. 2 years ago, General Booth destroyed his sanctuary and massacred the people who raised him. The man was a devil incarnate who loved the suffering of others. Michael remembered the grin on his face when he slaughtered everyone regardless of gender or age. He could imagine how powerful Booth is now with cosmic energy coursing through his veins. The only reason King Maxim Barnes wanted to build an empire was to hide the cosmic stream. If any kingdom left standing against Thusia, they might eventually find out about the cosmic stream. Michael knew Maxim would go to any length to prevent that from happening. "That's what they are calling it?" asked Freddy. There was ridicule in his voice as though he would have chosen a better name than that. "Yes, Freddy, that's what we are calling it. Don't forget you are a part of Thusia, the first empire to have vessels across continents," Rida deepened his voice. Initially, Kingdom Thusia was a part of the Elon continent. But King Maxim Barnes waged war against Kingdom Nalia and erased Nalia from the map. Soon, Nalia became the new Thusia as King Maxim transferred his capital to the Azer continent. Fortunately for King Maxim, Nalia was ruled by a dictator who couldn't care less about the citizens. So when King Maxim achieved a glorious victory as the citizens welcomed King Maxim with bright smiles and parades. To this date, there wasn't a single protest against King Maxim for decimating Nalia. Although King Maxim was a treacherous power-hungry man, he was a great king. Citizens prospered under his rule. As a result, he received undying loyalty and adoration from his people. Freddy nodded and leaned back in his chair. The burning logs crackled in the fireplace, breaking through the silence. Finally, they all just decided to stop gossiping and enjoy the moment. However, the four friends had no idea someone was standing around the corner, watching them and waiting for them to inhale more and more poisonous air. "Cough." Freddy coughed. At first, it was a simple short cough. But as minutes passed, Freddy's coughing became rough and loud. "What the?" Freddy closed his mouth while coughing. When he pulled his palms away, he saw blood covering his inner palm. He was shocked, and so were the others. Before they could react, they all began to cough, just like Freddy. "What is happening?" Rida stammered. He couldn't control the urge to cough. The more he coughed, the more pain he felt all over his body. Soon, blood sprayed out of their mouth. Suddenly, the chandelier began to flicker. Howling wind entered the hall, shaking the chandelier and everything in the room. The flames violently danced inside the fireplace, trying to fight the strong gusts of wind. They all tried to pick themselves up from the sofas. Cling! Baldy dropped the glass in his hand. Glass shattered into pieces. They kept coughing harder and harder until their faces turned pale. Little by little, their vision became blurry. To their astonishment, the room slowly grew darker and darker. A strong gust of wind snuffed out the chandelier, turning the place as dark as the midnight sky. The only light the four friends had was the weak flame swaying inside the fireplace. They dimly lit the place, hardly revealing anything. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Since Rida was the strongest among them, he was able to pick himself up with great difficulty. The others looked exhausted by coughing up blood. Although Rida stood up, he didn't know what to do next. In fact, he didn't even know what was going on. One moment, they were sitting in front of the fireplace and enjoying their drinks, and the next, they were coughing up blood. He tried to spread his senses throughout the room, only to realize he simply couldn't. "Arg," Rida growled, trying to feel the celestial energy in the atmosphere. But no matter what, he couldn't feel anything except the excruciating pain in his lungs. "How does it feel?" All of a sudden, a demonic voice resonated in the area, followed by the sound of doors shutting around them. Rida turned around. "H!" He screamed as a tall, dark, menacing figure stood before him. Rida could see the glowing red eyes under a dark hood even in the dim light. Rida stumbled backward, falling to the ground on his butt. His entire body shivered as though he was trapped in a snow mountain. You. Rida stammered. He was immediately flooded with everything he heard about the Dark Lord from the spies. Even though he currently lived in Thusia in Azer, he hailed from Elon. Every time he traveled to Elon through the portal in Thusia, he would hear something about the Dark Lord. The nobles were terrified of him while a group of commoners worshipped him. Everything he heard from his relatives and friends in Elon flashed across Rida's eyes. Many nobles left Elon fearing the wrath of the Dark Lord. Without even Michael introducing himself, Ryder recognized him as the Dark Lord thanks to his menacing suit of armor. Ryder would have wet his pants if Michael wore his dark suit version too. This one he currently wore was the old suit, with full dark robes, hood and a cape. There were no intricate details, silver linings, metal plates or runes engraved onto this armor. Rather, it was a plain black suit of armor. Nonetheless, his legend made Ryder shiver at the simple sight of him. Thanks to the molten plague, Michael did not need any armor to protect himself. Michael saw Ryder crawl back in fear. But before he could deal with the Thusians, Michael waved his hand as the crystal containing the ice dragon's heart flew straight to his hand from the table beside. Michael didn't even check the ice crystal as he put it into his system storage. Nightmare advised Michael to kill the Thusians later after they bought a few items. This way, not only Michael would get their lives but also their items. However, Michael didn't go with Nightmare's plan, although it was a great plan. Instead, Michael wanted to kill the Thusians as soon as possible. He might not get an opportunity like this ever again. No matter what, he wanted them dead. Every single one who helped King Maxim would die by his hand. After all, he promised himself he would destroy Thusia piece by piece. Leave us alone. Ryder managed to utter these words. He wasn't going to beg the Dark Lord for mercy, as he would rather die than beg him. But no amount of begging would save them. Just by serving King Maxim loyally ensured their deaths in Michael's hands. "You are going to have a long, painful night," Michael exclaimed. Black lightning crackled around his wrist. Michael was about to strike Ryder with the lightning bolt when he heard Gaia's voice in his head. "Michael, are you in danger?" asked Michael. "No, good. Whatever it is, it can wait. I am busy murdering these Thusian pigs." Michael didn't hide the cold killing in his heart. Hearing Michael, Ryder's heart skipped a beat. He tried to conjure a spell, only to fail. "Let's begin," said Michael. "The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." Chapter 625. Michael vs. Layla Alden. Michael grabbed Ryder by his neck and lifted himself in the air. He was the strongest among the four. So Michael focused on Ryder. As Michael lifted Ryder in the air, his legs twitched. Ryder gasped for air, reaching out for Michael's neck. Ryder wanted to squeeze Michael's neck, yet he simply couldn't reach his neck. Still, Ryder tried until the lack of oxygen to his brain made his hands lose strength. Boom! Michael slammed Ryder on the wooden table. Wooden splinters flew in all directions. "Arg!" Ryder coughed more blood. Michael ignored Ryder's pain because inflicting as much pain as possible was his intention. "Are you a loyal and reasonable person?" Michael asked Ryder. Slowly, Michael placed his boot on Ryder's feet. "Are you a loyal and reasonable person?" Michael repeated his words with a more deep voice than before. "Yes." Ryder felt an excruciating pain in his feet as Michael applied a little bit more pressure. Ryder could hardly breathe. "Yes." Ryder shouted as loud as he could. He hoped answering yes would make the Dark Lord stop crushing his feet. Luckily, Michael did stop crushing Ryder's feet. "Loyal to Thusia." Michael snickered. For a moment, Michael just looked around the hall. He then raised his hand upwards, sending a powerful blast of wind. It destroyed the roof, putting a large hole directly above Michael. As a result, Michael felt more powerful under the dark sky. "Get up." Michael walked towards Freddy, who hated Ghost. "Leave him alone," Ryder stammered. Freddy. Michael devilishly chuckled before picking Freddy off the ground by his neck. "I can literally smell the racism in you." Michael gently squeezed Freddy's neck until his face lost all color. While Michael was squeezing, a small needle extended from Michael's wrist, injecting the antidote to molten plague into Freddy's body. Why? Michael wanted Freddy and everyone to feel the pain. A few seconds later, Freddy slowly opened his eyes. His brain didn't even process what was in front of him when Michael slammed Freddy to the ground. Before even Freddy could scream, Michael kicked Freddy in the chest. His kick produced a cracking noise as though Michael had broken several ribs in Freddy's chest. Freddy coughed and groaned in pain. Meanwhile, Michael turned his gaze towards Baldy, who dealt with an underground criminal empire in Thusia. Just like he did to Freddy, Michael injected Freddy with the antidote before torturing him. To be honest, Michael hated torturing and wasting time with his enemies. However, he had some exceptions when it came to Wuxia. What happened? Baldy mumbled. This time, Michael waited till Baldy to clearly see his face. He was curious to see how Baldy would react. Arg! Baldy groaned in utter fear. His eyes went wide as his face completely lost any color. The man shuddered. To Michael's surprise, Baldy's body twitched frantically. A few seconds later, his body stopped twitching as well as his breathing. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Baldy surprised Michael by dying of a heart attack. The sight of Michael gave Baldy a heart attack. So they had heard about me in Wuxia? Michael thought. He threw the lifeless body of Baldy with a sigh. He wanted to inflict more pain on the man, but he was lucky to get a heart attack. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Baldy. Freddy and Ryder groaned. Among the three, Michael turned his gaze to the man who remained silent the whole time. Lightning bolts cracked around Michael's fist. Once again, the lightning bolt shot out from his finger, penetrating the man's calf. After hitting the man on the calf, Michael slowly walked towards him. Blood spurted out from the wound. Still, the man remained unconscious until Michael lifted him off the ground and injected him with the antidote. Silence fell inside the tavern for a moment. The anger in Michael's eyes made Freddy and Ryder shiver in fear. Since Michael had injected the antidote into everyone, they managed to regain some of their strength. Furthermore, they slowly felt their connection to the energies once again. You, Ryder groaned. His eyes turned predatory. Before Ryder could finish his sentence, the Dark Lord appeared in front of him in a blink of an eye and slapped him so hard that Ryder's wisdom tooth jumped out of his mouth. The tooth didn't even hit the ground when Michael pinched Freddy's nose. He put enough pressure to crush Freddy's nostrils. Stop! All of a sudden, a thunderous voice resonated in the room. Shockingly, he didn't sense a living being around him. That changed when a door several meters behind Freddy and Ryder opened. To Michael's astonishment, the young woman standing on the other side of the door was none other than Layla Alden. Michael's muscles went rigid as he felt what to do next. Michael then noticed Edith stepping aside from Layla's shadows. The Dark Lord, Edith mumbled under her breath, a tinge of fear in her voice. The two ladies stared at Michael without blinking an eye. Looking at the groaning men, Layla furrowed her brows. Take them and leave this place, Layla ordered Edith. No! Just as Edith was about to take a step forward, Michael raised his voice. His shout had enough power to push Edith a step back. Although Layla was at fusion stage level 10, Michael did not fear her. In his full Dark Lord form, he could fight toe-to-toe with any fusion stage cultivators. If Michael wanted, he could make them powerless with Molten Plague and then kill them as easily as killing ants. Michael hesitated to use the Molten Plague on Layla. After all, he had a soft spot for Layla in the corner of his heart. Suddenly, a dread of a feeling hit Michael's core. He immediately summoned the system. System, am I still immune to Layla's attacks? Yes. The system answered nonchalantly. Several months ago when Michael and Layla Alden visited the treacherous ocean, Michael had to spirit walk Layla due to her sudden impulse to harness the first energy. As a result of the spirit walk and absorbing the first energy, the system put a rune in both Michael and Layla's souls, preventing Layla from hurting Michael. At that time it saved Michael. However, that invulnerability would cause his identity to be exposed if Michael didn't do something. Disable that, Michael ordered the system. No can do host. You should have upgraded the system before asking this. The system almost sounded as though it had enough of Michael's hesitation to upgrade it. Not that Michael didn't want to upgrade the system, but other things such as saving badass points to find the cure and legendary skill took higher priority. As soon as the auction ends, Michael would upgrade the system. That was his first thing to do next. He just needed 200,000 badass points for the upgrade. Time for Plan B then, Michael took a deep breath. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Layla Alden. Michael uttered Layla's name in his demonic voice. He never expected to meet Layla here. When Michael first met Layla, the power gap between them was tremendous. But now, Michael could kill Layla in several ways if he wanted to. Leave, Michael warned Layla. Edith, on the other hand, hesitated to take a step forward. She shivered from head to toe, looking at Michael. Funny, I was about to say the same, Layla calmly spoke. Her melodious voice soothed Ryda, Freddie, and the other guy. After seeing her cultivation stage, they sighed in relief. Michael noticed Layla focusing her gaze on him, trying to gauge his power level, only to fail. Before he started to attack the Thusians, Michael paid the system to hide his cultivation stage. Otherwise, people like Mutrad could come up with a theory that the Dark Lord they fought near the Holy Church was an imposter. This does not concern you, Layla Alden. If you turn back and leave, I won't hurt you or your family, Michael threatened Layla. He wasn't making a false promise either. His anger toward the Thusians outweighed Layla's well-being. In case Layla stood between him and his revenge on Thusia, Michael would cut her down without a second thought. Edith, take this, Michael noticed Layla flicking her wrist. Soon, a golden scroll appeared in her hand. She handed over the scroll to Edith. When you reach them, teleport away, Layla ordered Edith. But Big Sister? Big Sister? Michael was yet again taken aback by surprise. It was a good thing Michael covered his face with a mask. Otherwise, Layla would have seen through his shock. After hearing Edith, Michael's brain connected all the dots. He creased his brows. Considering Edith was Victoria's best friend, she would obviously stand between him and the destruction of Thusia, especially when he was about to kill Victoria. At that moment, Layla might intervene to save her little sister. This complicated things for Michael. Not only Edith had Noah but also Layla to save her. I don't have time for these squabbles. If you don't get out of here in 3 seconds, Michael raised 3 fingers. Each step Michael took forward made Edith's heart shudder in fear. Freddie and Ryda slowly picked themselves up. They tried to leave the place, leaving Layla and the Dark Lord to battle it out. Simply put, they wanted to save their butts. Despite their cultivation level, they did not even think of helping Layla. 1, Michael began the count. 2, before even Michael could count to 3, a bright light in the shape of a Vina appeared in Layla's hand. Soon, the light faded, revealing the angel's Vina. Ding! A powerful wave of energy shot out of the Vina when she played the strings with her soft fingers. To Michael's shock, the energy wave blasted him onto the wall behind. If it wasn't for the invisible responsive shield that absorbed half of the energy wave's power, he couldn't have landed on his feet. Surprisingly, the energy wave only hit Michael as everything else in the room remained untouched by the energy wave. I thought she couldn't hurt me, Michael questioned the system. She must have found a new way to harm you, host. Michael wanted to strangle the system. It said Layla couldn't harm him anymore back on the treacherous ocean. Now the system had gone back on its way. However, it worked to Michael's advantage. So you've chosen violence. Michael brushed off the dust on his shoulder. The very next moment, Edith saw dark clouds shrouding the Dark Lord. The room grew darker and darker. Chapter 626. Michael vs. Layla Alden 2. When Layla strummed another chord, Michael cast the lightning dash. He moved so swiftly that he left after images. Despite the darkness, Layla noticed the dark flames covering the Dark Lord. It was as though he was a living flame. The primordial flames. Edith, who saw the flames back in a ruin in Emazaroth, immediately recognized the flames. She was sure. The flame she saw in ruins radiated energy exactly the same as the flame covering the Dark Lord. Edith recalled her friend's words: a primordial flame chooses its host, not the other way around. Does that mean the Dark Lord was in the Mazeroth? Or the flame traveled through dimensions? Edith questioned herself. Ignitia, lightning crackled around Michael's wrist. But he didn't shoot Freddie and Dyer with a bolt of lightning. Instead, he distracted Layla with the lightning bolt and dashed at Freddie and Ryda. Seeing the Dark Lord moving towards Ryda and Freddie, Layla strummed the chords rapidly, creating a soul-chanting melody. Immediately, Edith's body went rigid. She couldn't move her muscles, not even blinking an eye. Several invisible energy waves shot toward Michael. Layla wasn't playing. She directly went for the kill. She was surprisingly ruthless for a woman who had a tendency to heal and help many. She was surprisingly ruthless. To be honest, Michael had never seen Layla like this. Her eyes turned bloodshot. Each time she strummed a chord, the room trembled. Suddenly, a golden light enveloped Layla, sucking every bit of lingering celestial energy in the air. Slowly, her glossy raven-black hair turned to silver. The golden light not only lit the room but also amplified the sound of her vina. This was an epic-level spell that boosted Layla's power several times. Judging by Edith's look, this wasn't the first time she had seen Layla use this spell. Coupled with the silver of the first energy coursing through Layla's veins, she began to overpower Michael. At least that was the case for a few moments. Michael was at fusion stage level 4. His cloud of darkness boosted his power by 4 levels, making him on par with fusion stage level 8. To match Layla's power level, Michael needed to hit level 6, so the cloud of darkness could boost his power to level 10. However, to break through 2 levels, he had to kill the 3 remaining Thusians. Michael regretted not killing the Thusians before. He went against what Spectre taught him. He chose to take his time instead of killing them as soon as possible. Now Michael paid the price for his mistake. Let's see how long she can keep that spell alive. Michael was about to attack Rida when suddenly Layla disappeared. Michael's instincts screamed at him. He blocked his face. An earth-shattering reverberated as a tremendous force struck Michael's body. The hands Michael used to block the attack bent and broke. He gnashed his teeth as pain coursed through his body. He was sent flying, hitting the wooden wall and destroying a portion of the tavern in the process. His body hit several trees before coming to a halt. Clouds of dust and wooden splinters flew in the air. Ryder and Freddy ran to the hole to see where the Dark Lord had fallen. The golden light surrounding Layla slowly faded away as the darkness enveloped the tavern again. The clouds of dust receded, and the Dark Lord stood silently as though nothing had happened. They felt shivers running through their spine when they saw the Dark Lord chuckle devilishly. Finally, a somewhat worthy opponent, Michael hid his crooked arm with the dark cloud. Thanks to the APD and the bone-mending potion, he fixed his broken arm in mid-air while he was sent flying. Still, the pain made every single fiber in his body hurt. He had never expected Layla to use her vina like a cricket bat to swat him. He had never seen Layla fight so aggressively before. Layla flew outside into the woods through the new hole in the wall. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Leave. Layla ordered Edith. Her thunderous voice made the Thusians shudder. But when Edith was about to use the tear to scroll to teleport, she felt a sting in her neck. Oh! Suddenly, Layla's halted, floating towards Michael. She heard her little sister scream in agony. All the anger and battle lust in Layla's eyes disappeared. Michael hated fighting dirty, but the history was written by the victors. The Thusians used all kinds of dirty tactics to betray him and covert the cosmic stream. Hence, Michael saw no problem fighting dirty to kill them. Layla immediately turned around to see Edith groaning and twitching on the ground. Her motherly instinct kicked in as Layla dashed at Edith. Edith! Layla's vina faded into nothingness as she crouched down to lift Edith's head. Layla conjured a powerful ball of light that lit a small area around them. The light fought the darkness controlled by Michael. He could have snuffed out the light if he had a little bit more control over the darkness element. In a split second, Michael arrived at Rida when Layla was distracted by Edith. Rida, Freddy, and the red-haired man couldn't help but shudder. This time, Michael did not waste any time. He directly punched Rida in the head as fast as he could. Since Rida was weakened by the molten plague, Michael's punch cracked open Rida's skull. Blood spurted out from Rida's head, painting Freddy's face red. They shuddered. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a fusion stage, level 8 cultivator. The reward is 750,000 experience points and 5,000 badass points. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is the fusion stage, level 5. Ding! As soon as Rida's lifeless body hit the ground, another earth-shattering sound resonated in the tavern. To Michael's astonishment, the sound healed Edith. This time, Layla didn't mess around as she tore the scroll in half. A bright light immediately shrouded Edith, Freddy, and the other one. Before Michael could kill Freddy, they disappeared from the tavern. That was a mistake, Layla, Michael growled. There was immense hate and spite in his voice. Layla's orb of light was snuffed out by Michael's darkness. His hate and anger fueled his power, making him stronger. Layla moved her finger to strike another chord, only to get blasted by Michael. Wind blast. The blast of wind sent Layla flying for several meters. She managed to land on her feet with her Vina. You had no right to save the Thusians. Michael shouted as a powerful blast obliterated the tavern to bits and pieces. Without realizing it, Michael had unleashed a little bit of his true power. In a blink of an eye, the previously lavish tavern became a ruin. Upon seeing the area grow darker and colder, Layla closed her eyes. Out of the blue, Michael saw several figures resembling jaguars emerge from the ground. She learned some new tricks, Michael snickered inside. Michael flicked his wrist as the Doombringer appeared in his hand. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Just like you had no right to hurt the one I care about, Michael froze. Judging by her tone and expression, she wasn't talking about Edith. Instead, Michael felt like she was talking about Ghost. So you have a sweet spot for Ghost, huh? Michael snickered. He wanted a definite answer from Layla. As Michael expected deep down, Layla did not answer him. Instead, she struck several strings at the same time. The jaguars leaped at Michael. Smirking, Michael clenched the Doombringer tighter. Layla sent several energy waves to cut him in half. This time, Michael could see the crescent-shaped golden waves shooting toward him. The waves did not harm the jaguars but cut the broken tavern's walls that stood between them in halves. Suddenly, the dark flames shot out from Michael, shrouding the jaguars. Layla had never felt such intense heat from any flames before. She creased her brows. Deep inside her mind, she wondered what kind of primordial flame this was. Throughout her life, she had learned and even seen a few primordial flames. However, nothing matched the flames wielded by the Dark Lord. The flames slowed down the jaguars as Michael leaped into the air with his Doombringer raised above his head. Boom! Michael brought down Doombringer upon a jaguar's head with an earth-shattering force. The jaguar's head exploded into gray dust, and the shock wave sent the other flying into the sea of trees. The ground split opened where Michael's Doombringer landed. Wind blast! Michael looked up, raising his hand. The two crescent-shaped waves met in the air, nullifying each other. Despite everything, Layla kept striking the strings, creating powerful energy waves rapidly. On the other hand, Michael sent wind blasts powered by the dark flames. Their battle was so intense that it disturbed the atmosphere itself. The two of them destroyed everything around them for a 10-meter radius. Furthermore, their battle disrupted the celestial energy in the air to the point the clear sky soon got crowded with storm clouds. The sound of thunder rumbling resonated in the area. Streaks of lightning flashed across the forest. Michael sensed several figures approaching them with great speed. His figure blurred as he disappeared from Layla's sight. Behind Layla, a streak of lightning hit the ground. Michael's figure emerged from the lightning with his Doombringer aimed at Layla's shoulder. Unlike her, he didn't go for the kill. If he wanted Layla dead, he could have used the Molten Plague. Michael did not want the spirit child to grow up without a parent. He had already abandoned the child regardless of his hatred towards his parents for abandoning him. Layla's battle instinct kicked in as she easily deflected the Doombringer with the back of her hand. A golden dome appeared around Layla the next second, protecting her from the Doombringer. Michael's figure blurred again and then reappeared on Layla's left. His attack was deflected by the golden dome. However, Michael did not give up. He attacked once again, enveloping the Doombringer with dark flames. Boom! The dome cracked when he brought down the Doombringer upon it. Once again, Michael raised his Doombringer above his head. But before he could hit the dome, Layla leaped away. A sliver of blood oozed out of the corner of her mouth. Despite facing the Dark Lord, she showed no signs of fear. Even Michael couldn't help admiring Layla. He was about to attack Layla again when Michael sensed more and more figures approaching them. The odds turned against him. The longer he spends battling, the more he would be in danger. Thus, Michael decided to leave the place before the Guardians, and the sea folk surrounded the area. We will meet again soon, Michael nodded before disappearing into the sea of trees. As expected, Layla did not chase after him. Chapter 627. Price for not upgrading the system. Michael returned to the dark forest with Gaia and Nightmare. What happened to you? Looking at his dirt-covered torn armor of Michael, Gaia creased her brows. With the Molten Plague, Gaia knew it would be impossible for the Thusians to even harm a single hair on his head. Do you remember Edith? Michael asked Gaia. Azazel and Nightmare stood beside, staring at countless feeds running through the mirrors around the room. Yeah, I do, Gaia said as she came to his side. She helped Michael remove his cape as well as the chest piece of his armor. Thanks to the APD, there weren't any cuts or bruises on his body. However, Gaia noticed the bloodstains. Upon seeing the blood on his perfectly chiseled chest, she clenched her fist so tight her palm began to hurt. Her full name is Edith Alden. Gaia stopped removing Mark III grappling hook attached to his wrist. Just a mere mention of the name Alden caused dark lines to form on Gaia's forehead. Alden. Gaia slightly tilted her head. Seeing the exhaustion on Michael's face, Azazel waved his hand as Michael's throne materialized behind him. Michael nodded at Azazel. She is Layla's sister. Michael sat on his throne. Hearing Michael, everyone stood there dumbfounded. Edith accompanied the Thusians. So when you went to torture them, you got ambushed by Layla and Edith? Is that right? Gaia asked as though she had seen everything with her own eyes. Azazel almost let his anger explode. He wanted to fly down to the tavern and rip Layla and Edith to pieces. Despite Michael's relationship with Layla, he couldn't stop his heart from having murderous thoughts about Layla. He clenched his fist. On the other hand, Nightmare remained calm. He remembered the kind and caring woman they had met. If it wasn't for Layla's impulse, he knew Ghost and Layla would have been good friends. Still, Nightmare refused to believe Layla would ever try to kill Michael. A woman of her kind heart and composure would not succumb to hatred. With given time, the possibility of Layla returning to Ghost was high. Michael nodded. He retrieved a healing potion from the system storage and emptied the potion into his mouth. That complicates things, human. Gaia took several steps forward before sitting on the throne's arm. She caringly wrapped her hand around Michael. I know. But nothing can stop me from wiping Thusia off the map. No Edith, no Layla, not even the Sky Hall. Nightmare noticed Michael's eyes flickering like rubies in sunlight. Due to Nightmare's acute senses, he heard a noise of otherworldly vibration in the air. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. How powerful is she now? Gaia asked. There was a hint of jealousy in her voice. Unlike Layla, Gaia wasn't fortunate to absorb the first energy. Given Gaia's heaven-defying cultivation speed and the 40% boost provided by the system, she could break through to the fusion stage once Gaia had absorbed the first energy. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Freeweb Novel. Com to experience faster update speed. Simply put, Michael's major reason for venturing into the treacherous ocean was Gaia. He wanted his beloved, most loyal fiancée to be the strongest among his subordinates. Currently, Azazel had the crown of being the strongest. That would soon change when they departed to the treacherous ocean. Furthermore, Michael did not forget about Gaia's metamorphosis. She needed the heart and blood of a 5-headed serpent in the fire realm to evolve. Without evolving, achieving her true power would be nothing but a daydream. Fusion stage level 10. I was disappointed. I thought she would have reached the half-immortal stage. Gaia's gaze stopped at Michael's face. For a few moments, she couldn't get her mind wrapped around the idea of how easy Michael was thinking to reach the half-immortal stage. Finally, after pondering for some time, Gaia broke the silence. With or without first energy, it's not easy to break through to the half-immortal stage. Why do you think there are only a handful of fusion stage cultivators in the world? Did you know when the last person joined the Council of Immortals? 300 years ago. Really? Michael glared at Gaia. Michael had been trying to gather information about the Council of Immortals. But even Lord Information seemed to possess little to nothing about them. Part of the reason was the Council of Immortals lived in a pocket dimension separated from this world. Only when someone broke through to the half-immortal stage did a representative of the Council come outside to recruit them. Michael dared not to take reaching the half-immortal stage recklessly. Even the system informed him he would get a fixed amount of experience points from killing cultivators regardless of their levels. Additionally, the system had stopped awarding Michael with experience points every time one of his subordinates killed one. Hence, the reason why Michael didn't receive any experience points when Gaia killed a few of the rot guards. The system had been using the experience points to change Michael's body and soul from the molecular level. But that wasn't the only reason why the system didn't award him with experience points. It held the experience points and badass points hostage to punish Michael for not prioritizing the system upgrade. It had been 7 months since Michael had upgraded the system. She must have come to the auction searching for something. Something that could help her break through to the half-immortal stage. Her words made Michael wonder whether Layla knew about the cosmic stream or not. If Edith knew about it, the odds of Layla knowing were high. However, if she did, Layla could use the cosmic stream to break through. Knowing Maxim Barnes and the lengths he would go to protect the cosmic stream, Michael doubted Edith knew anything about it. Heed her words, host. You cannot reach the half-immortal stage without upgrading the system to level 7. Michael's body froze when he heard the system. His mind repeated the system's words. Level 7? Michael questioned the system. The host didn't think you could just reach the half-immortal stage with a level 6 system, did you? The system almost sounded amused by Michael's bewilderment. Unable to endure the system's haughtiness anymore, Michael growled. However, he knew no matter how much he bickered with the system, there was no way for him to reach the half-immortal stage without the system. How many badass points? Michael sighed. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. You need 600,000 badass points for the next upgrade. Then, the level 7 upgrade requires 1 million badass points. Obviously, it would hinder Michael's growth. But at least he had already reached the top of the food chain. Thanks to the Immortal Council, anyone above the fusion stage did not meddle with mortal affairs. Although the rogues who chose not to join the council remained outside the immortal dimension, they did their best not to raise the council's attention towards them. These rogues either remained in the Cold Mountain or in the other realms, such as the Akilan realm. They only made public appearances wherever their descendants or families faced a calamity. Tell me, what did you do? Did she do this to you? Gaia pointed at the bloodstains on his body. With a long heave of sigh, Michael began to narrate everything that happened in the tavern. A few minutes later, Gaia's eyes sparkled. She was delighted to hear Michael fought Layla instead of sparing her or worse, revealing his identity. Is there any chance she fought you because the Dark Lord attacked Ghost? Nightmare asked. I think so, nodded Michael. Don't forget she tried to kill you and blamed you for her mistake. Gaia rolled her eyes. Azazel agreed with Gaia. Whatever the reason might be, Azazel hated Layla for trying to kill his master. Whatever her reason might be, I won't spare Thusia. If Edith stayed in my way, which I know she will, I wouldn't hesitate to kill her. Thusia will be destroyed along with Maxim and his entire family. Michael's words were murderous. They could feel the temperature had fallen a couple of degrees. What are we going to do about those who escaped? Asked Gaia. Her question put Michael in a momentary trance. He pondered what must be done about them. Now that he had attacked them once, it was risky to let them live. But, at the same time, stepping into Thusia was extremely dangerous since Maxim had bolstered the kingdom with powerful runes and arrays as defensive mechanisms. Besides, people like General Booth might recognize Michael, and disguising himself wouldn't work with the arrays and runes in Thusia. At least, that was the case until he could upgrade the system. Once he had upgraded, he could buy new spells and skills to further strengthen himself. The spiders I attached to them got destroyed as soon as they reached Thusia. So killing them with the spiders is out of the question. Michael rubbed his chin. His instinct told Michael that visiting Thusia was a bad idea. If someone had recognized him, everything Michael had built will be threatened. Knowing Maxim Barnes, Michael wouldn't be surprised if that crazy old man waged war against Bradford. For now, Michael decided to leave Rida and Freddy alone. After all, they would spread his legend across Thusia, which might work to Michael's advantage in the long term. The fear of the Dark Lord targeting the Thusians would put fear in many nobles' hearts. Without a doubt, this fear would hinder Thusia's growth. After all, fear was a great tool that could be used in many other ways. When the right time comes, let's give Thusian soldiers a taste of this. Michael flicked his wrist as a silver vial appeared in his hand. It was the weaponized Molten Plague. Suppose Michael had infected the Thusian army with the Molten Plague. There was no doubt in Michael's mind it would tilt the tide of the war. So even if Michael couldn't directly kill the Thusians with his own hands, he was content with killing them with the plague. In Gaia's heart, she was excited to destroy Thusia with him. Putting the hatred towards Thusia to the back of his mind, Michael turned his gaze towards Gaia. Now tell me what happened to Tenulia? Michael asked. Due to the battle and his hatred for the Thusians, Michael almost forgot to ask Gaia about Tenulia. After Michael asked the question, A grin emerged on Gaia's face. Tanulia Valrin is no more. Chapter 628. Armor forged by a 6-star blacksmith. Upon hearing Gaia's words, Michael was startled. Michael remembered sending Gaia after the Valrins with the molten plague. He ordered Gaia to attack them only if she found a way to infect them first. Judging by her tone, he didn't think Gaia was the one who took Tanulia's life. Finally, Gaia rose from the throne arm and looked at the mirrors surrounding the room. With a wave of her hand, she turned off all the mirrors. Michael turned his throne around. "You have to see this." Gaia waved her hand as the mirrors flickered. A few seconds later, all the small mirrors emerged together to form a large screen. In the mirror, Michael saw a woman moving swiftly through the forest. He tapped the throne's hand, looking at the woman chasing after Tabulia's carriage and the 4 men riding the horses. Michael saw the dark-robed figure using the forest as his cover. The figure had followed the carriage, keeping his distance until abruptly the figure increased his speed. Suddenly the figure blurred as it disappeared from sight for a few moments. Then, it appeared above the 4 men riding the horses. Within a few split seconds, the figure grabbed the 4 one by one and slit their throats. Everyone, including Gaia, who had seen this before, couldn't help but admire the figure's speed and agility. The soul refiners didn't have a chance. None uttered a word the following minutes. Instead, they stared at the woman who beat the hell out of Tanulia before cleaving her head. Nightmare and Azazel were bewildered to see Gaia fight the woman, only to lose. They had never thought the woman could defeat the Dark Queen. But what they heard next from Michael startled them. "She was holding back," said Michael. Nightmare and Azazel thought Gaia was going to disagree with Michael. But on the contrary, she agreed with him. "I felt the same too. Despite the fact that we were being at the same stage and level, she was significantly stronger than me. Also, the molten plague didn't affect her, and neither did the fear toxin." Michael's focus was not on the battle but on what she said before attacking Tanulia. The phrase she recited was from Earth. "Twinkle twinkle little star" was a nursery rhyme taught to little children on Earth. In fact, Michael had learned it in his orphanage. He deeply breathed in. "Twinkle twinkle little star. How I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky." He did not expect someone from this world to recite the rhyme. Besides, she fought so swiftly that even a best close combat warrior such as Gaia couldn't defeat her. Furthermore, judging by how she fought, Michael could tell she was holding back. Otherwise, the woman could have defeated Gaia in a couple of seconds. "Why can't you whore yourself to the vampires?" Michael repeated Harriet's words. "What does that tell you?" Michael glared at Nightmare, Gaia, and Azazel. "That she has an axe to grind with the vampires," said Nightmare. "Yes, but not exactly," said Gaia. "Her words have hidden meanings." She asked Tanulia, "Why can't you whore yourself to the vampires?" Why did she ask that specific question? Nightmare repeated Harriet's words again and again in his mind. A few moments later, he opened his mouth again. "Yourself," she said, "yourself." Nightmare emphasized the word yourself. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. That might mean Tanulia used someone else to do something instead of doing it herself. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Michael nodded. Unlike Nightmare, Gaia, Michael, and Azazel made the connection to Sabrina instantly. "Did you put a spider on her?" asked Michael. "She destroyed it." As soon as Michael saw Gaia shrug, he was bewildered. The woman had exceeded Michael's expectations. He wanted to see the woman more than anything. Deep down, he felt a peculiar connection with the woman. The way she moved, the way she recited a rhyme, and everything about her reminded him of himself. Even if he had no connection to him, having a freak of nature like this woman as his subordinate might multiply his power several folds. It wasn't any day he could find a powerful subordinate who shared hatred towards the Guardians. After hearing how she spared the old man before addressing herself like she belonged to the House of Halrid, her hatred towards the Guardians became apparent to Michael. Of course, there was still a chance that she actually belonged to the House of Halrid. But only a fool would reveal their identities after killing a prominent figure such as Tanulia. The woman did not seem like a fool. "We need to get our hands on every order Tanulai issued. Azazel, I want you to send Arya to House Winston." "How you do that?" "It's up to you." I want Arya to shadow Sabrina. Since Noah had found out about the spiders, he dared not to put spiders in Winston's house again. Instead, Michael wanted Arya to infiltrate their homes. Although Michael knew it was a difficult task for Arya, he would make her the head of the assassin guild he planned to build in the future, if she were to succeed. For how long, my lord? Asked Azazel. Until Sabrina returns to Holy Trident Academy, answered Michael. Looking at the woman in the mirror, Michael couldn't help replaying the feed once again. We now have 2 tasks. Find out this woman's identity and the reason why Layla is in Arar, said Michael. Eventually, Michael dismissed Azazel and Nightmare, who returned to the tavern where Eve was staying. What's in your mind? Gaia asked, noticing the dark lines on Michael's forehead. After spending almost 2 years with Michael, it was not very difficult for Gaia to read his expressions. I don't know. It's just she seems familiar. The next day, Michael returned to his room and pretended nothing had happened last night. He accompanied Eve to the Aqua Palace. Along the way to their VIP room, Michael noticed armed guards, countless soul refiners, and even 3 fusion stage cultivators. After settling into their seats, Eve turned her gaze towards Michael. What was that? Why are there so many guards crawling this place? No idea. I never left my room last night, Michael shrugged. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Even then turned her head to look at Gaia, who shrugged even before Eve could question her. Why are you looking at me? I was with him. An awkward silence enveloped the room. Michael looked at the clouds hiding the sun. He sighed and leaned back. All of his focus was focused on the woman who killed Tanulia. He couldn't help but wonder where the man resembling a cat was when the woman slaughtered Tanulia and her men. Boom! An earth-shattering bell sound reverberated in the arena, instantly silencing the crowd. Then, just like yesterday, Rick's ton descended from the sky following the bell sound. When he landed on the ground, he raised his arm. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome you to the second day of the Aqua Auction. Without further ado, let us begin the auction. To Michael's surprise, Rick's ton began auctioning quickly without wasting time. He expected the old man to reassure, or at least speak a few words about what had happened to the Thujans or Valrans. But on the contrary, the old man began the auction in a rush. After Rick's ton's voice echoed through the arena, an iron pillar emerged from the ground. Atop, they all saw a complete set of armor painted crimson red. This armor set had a rounded helm with half a pointed face guard and 2 pointed openings for the eyes. Attached to its side were 2 horns that curved upwards. The shoulders were fairly oval, tall, and fairly small in size. They were decorated with hundreds of small metal fragments, mimicking the scales of reptiles. The upper arms were protected by squared, half-covering rear braces, which sat quite well under the shoulder plates. The lower arms were covered by vambraces with a tentacle-like metal ornament attached to each side, wrapping around each vambrace. The breastplate was made from various layers of rounded metal sheets. It covered everything from the neck down, ending at the groin. The upper legs are covered by squared, fully covering cuisses. The lower legs were protected by greaves with sharp tips at the knee point. Judging by the shiny armor, it was apparent to Michael it was never worn before. When he looked closer, he noticed several runes glowing dimly. Not only Michael, everyone noticed these peculiar runes. Without explanation, even Gaia had no idea about the rune's effects. Michael regretted not bringing Eladir to the auction. At the moment, the Dark Elf was busy creating a teleportation array in the crypt. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see is armor forged by a 6-star blacksmith and enhanced by a 6-star runemaster. An indescribable desire emerged in Michael's heart. Although the armor looked medieval and had a Viking vibe to it, he could reforge the armor to suit his liking. But Michael suppressed his despite because he knew for a fact he didn't have enough coins to afford the armor. Countless people gasped in shock after hearing Rick's ton. Michael patiently waited for Rick's ton to explain the armor's various powers. It'd be easier to show you the advantages of having this armor than me explaining, Rick's ton said. Soon, a tall man with a well-toned body descended from the sky. Other than multiple scars on his body, there was nothing distinguishable about the man. A slave. Michael slightly tilted his head. He wasn't a perfect human being, but just the thought of owning a human being sickened Michael. As the man landed beside Rick's ton, the latter began to put the armor on the man. Several seconds later, Rixton finished adorning the man with the armor. "Now look closer, ladies and gentlemen," Rixton said before flicking his wrist. A mace with a spiked head appeared in the old man's hand. To everyone's shock, Rixton struck the man on the chest with the mace. Sparks flew as a loud thudding sound resonated in the area. Rixton didn't stop but struck the man yet again. As Rixton struck, again and again, the crimson-red armor began to glow brighter and brighter. In addition to the glow, everyone heard the armor resonate with a whistling sound. Everyone curious stared at the glowing armor, waiting for something to happen. After enduring a couple of more hits, the armor glowed so brightly that some of the people in the crowd closed their eyes. The next moment, everyone heard a loud booming sound as Rixton was sent flying by a shockwave created by the armor. The arena went dead silent. At that moment, one could even hear a pin dropping sound in the arena. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 629. Michael's bid. After creating a shockwave, the armor returned to its initial color, losing all its glow. Unlike the audience, nobles and cultivators such as Michael noticed several runes dimly glowing on the ground. They suppressed the explosion so Rixton wouldn't get hurt by the shockwave. After landing on his feet, Rixton wiped off the blood oozing down the corner of his mouth. Rixton leaped into the air before landing beside the armored man. As you have all witnessed, the armor stores the force of hits it receives and fires a powerful shockwave to knock out or even kill the opponents. The best thing about the armor is, its power grows with the wearer. For example, it will create a stronger and more powerful shockwave when a fusion stage cultivator wears the armor than a soul refiner. This slave is only at the core formation stage. Still, the armor created a shockwave powerful enough to send me, a soul refiner, flying, said Rixton. Countless people gasped and murmured among themselves. Many craved the armor as sparkles could be seen in their eyes. I won't waste any more of your precious time. The starting price of this armor is 20 million. Rixton amplified his voice to sound louder. He wanted every single possible bidder to hear his words loud and clear. There was no doubt in his mind that the armor would fetch the Aqua Palace at least 100 million. 25 million, Eve bid as soon as Rixton's voice died down. Michael tilted his head slightly. His entire wealth contained 25 million, yet for Eve, 25 million was a small price. 35 million. The Golden Prince's voice resonated from his VIP room. With a single bid, the Golden Prince raised the price by 10 million. 50 million. Michael heard a raspy voice resonate from the Hunt family room. 55 million. Eve calmly raised the bid. 65 million, said the raspy voice elder of the Hunt family. Michael noticed that no one bid for the armor except for Eve, the elder of the Hunt family and the Golden Prince. When Michael looked at the T-Fusion VIP room, he could only see a silhouette of two women. He did not expect Layla and Edith to stay in the Aqua Palace instead of returning to Thusia. Although the three were raising bids one after another, Rixton regretted what had happened to Valrans and the Thusians. The Aqua Palace did its best to contain the news of what transpired last night. But the news spread like wildfire throughout the kingdom. Fear struck the entire city of Alan Allery. Rixton knew as they were speaking, soldiers from Sil Alaris capital were on their way to Alan Allery. It was just a fruitless action. Everyone knew the Dark Lord was long gone. Even if the Empress appeared in Alan Allery, Rixton doubted they could find the Dark Lord or figure out how he managed to kill Tanulia Valrin and Rida on the same day. Unless the Dark Lord was really a god as some people claim him to be. Due to the Dark Lord's sudden appearance, several nobles had left the Aqua Palace. They all wanted to be surrounded by their own soldiers in their castles. Several minutes passed, but the bidding for the armor remained strong. Inside the Viol de Garde VIP room, Eve showed no signs of slowing down. 90 million, Eve's calm voice reverberated through the arena. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed. The Golden Prince and the elder of the Hunt family did not use their family background to sway the auction to their side. They knew the other party would not give them any face even if they used their family name. So they just bid with coins, not with their family names. As they were bidding for the armor, Michael noticed a silhouette enter the Hunt family room. The Hunt family members immediately stood up from their seats. Although Michael couldn't see their faces, it was apparent the figure had a higher status than the elders. Hundash. Don't. Gaia's words cut Eve's sentence short. The armor is of no use if you can't build your family to its previous state. Buying this armor will only put a bigger target on your back. Let the Golden Prince have it. She is right. Crossing someone like the Golden Prince at this point doesn't seem like a good idea. Nightmare raised his concern over Eve's desire to get the armor. 100 million, the Golden Prince bid. The entire arena looked startled. Even Michael felt a tinge of jealousy towards the Golden Prince. If a single man could fork out 100 million like it was nothing, Michael could only imagine how wealthy his family was. Michael was sure the Empress was at least worth several billion. I want to be like her one day, Michael vowed to himself. The people fixed their gazes at the Hunt family and Voldegard's VIP rooms, waiting for either of them to raise the bid. But, contrary to their expectation, none uttered a word. 100 million one time, two time. Rixton dragged his words as though he was expecting someone else to raise the bid. 100 million three times. Sold to the Golden Prince. Rixton's thunderous shout swept across the arena. Thank you, Lady Eve and the elders of the Hunt family. The Golden Prince's dominant clear voice resonated from the room and reverberated through the arena. Michael and Eve sighed. The latter desired an armor, and the other wanted to forge a better armor than the one they just auctioned. Despite their wishes, they both had to control their desires. Eve had enough coins to go up to 200 million, but as Gaia said, buying the armor would only put a bigger target on her back. She felt grateful for Gaia for reminding her of the looming threat. If it wasn't for Ghost wiping out the Rotguards, the Voldegards would have been long gone from the world. However, Eve knew it was just a temporary solution. With time, the rival families would come at her family like a pack of hyenas. There was no doubt in her mind. Sooner or later, she had to fight for her survival. After auctioning the armor, Rixton dismissed the slave. The armor, on the other hand, disappeared from the pillar. Everyone waited for Rixton to bring out the next item. They all looked curious to see what powerful item they would see next. Under their curious gazes, the iron pillar emerged from the ground yet again, lifting an orb of ice. The orb was the size of a cricket ball. Despite its size, as soon as the orb appeared, the temperature in the arena dropped several degrees down. All of them felt the chill as they could see their breaths. Unlike before, Rixton stood several meters away from the orb of ice. To Michael's astonishment, the orb of ice created a mist around the arena. Many of the onlookers were forced to use their arch energy to keep their bodies warm. The orb of ice drew Michael's full attention. He leaned forward, waiting for Rixton to explain everything about the orb of ice. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an ancient ice core, retrieved from the deepest pit in the cold mountain, also known as the Lonely Mountain. This chapter upload first at novelbin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. The Lonely Mountain was a place where cultivators headed towards to enter secluded cultivation for decades or even centuries. The harsh cold environment of the mountain would push the cultivators to their limit and make them break through to the higher levels of cultivation. Before Gaia met Michael, she planned to rule Nagaland to her heart's content before heading for the Lonely Mountain. The Lonely Mountain occupied a large area in the Aur continent. Due to its extremely cold weather, there were no living beings except cultivators in seclusion. Judging by the bone-chilling coldness emanating from a single core, Michael could imagine how cold the mountain would be. Doombringer. Michael immediately remembered the required materials to upgrade his weapon. He needed a 3-star blacksmith, 3-star runemaster, ostium ore, the blood of a forest dragon, underworld fire core, or ancient ice core. Among the 6, Michael already possessed 3 items. He had Eladir as the runemaster, Nightmare to get the blood, and had a large pouch of ostium ore thanks to his treacherous ocean visit. So only the blacksmith and one of the underworld fire core or ancient ice core remained. Once he could get his hands on the ancient ice core, he would be one step closer to upgrading the Doombringer. Michael would have let go of the item if it was underworld fire core. According to the system, the fire core would give the Doombringer to conjure flames, while the ice core would give the Doombringer to summon and control the bone-chilling frost. Since Michael already had the dark flames, he desired to have the first under his control rather than fire. As long as he controls all the elements somehow, he could become an unstoppable force of nature on a battlefield. Hence, Michael decided to bid for the ancient ice core. The only concern he had was the price. The ancient ice cores can be used in various arrays, And only the sky's the limit for a talented blacksmith who could handle this ice core. The starting price of the ice core is 3 million. To Michael's surprise, the starting bid was way lower than he initially expected. However, it made sense since there was no immediate use for the ice core. Anyone who buys it had to find either a rune master or a blacksmith. Even then, there was no certainty that they could make use of the ice core. So it's a glorified ice ball? Someone from a VIP room was ridiculed as the crowd burst into laughter. Rixton had no words to rebuke because it was the truth. Simply put, except for Michael, the ice core had little to no value to the rest. Even if a 6-star blacksmith or a rune master got their hands on the ice core, they could only imbue a part of its chillness to whatever they forge or create. But they could achieve the same effects with much simpler means. The nobles knew this. After all, they all brought experts along with them. 3.5 million, the Golden Prince bid for the item, making Michael frown. 4 million, Michael bid for the ice core for the first time. But unlike the rest, he didn't immediately raise the bid by 1 million. Rather, Michael raised it by 500,000. 5 million, however, the other party had raised the bid by 1 million. Michael hated it. Still, he had no intention of backing down until the bid went beyond 25 million. 5.2 million, Michael bid. 6 million, the Hunt family joined the bid. 6.1 million, Michael bid again. This time, he decreased the bid further. His way of bidding caused several murmurs among the crowd. But Michael couldn't care less. Unlike the nobles, Michael knew the value of gold coins. When he first came to this world, he had 0 coins to his name. Every coin Michael possessed was earned through hard work. Thus, Michael hated spending it lavishly. Granted, Michael wasn't stingy, but he wasn't a lavish spender either. 7 million, the Golden Prince raised the bid to 7 million. Michael furrowed his brows. 7.1 million. Are you kidding me? Eve rolled her eyes. For a man of his status, Ghost was stingy as hell. She wanted to slap the back of his head for raising the bid by 100,000 every single time. Chapter 630. Layla Alden's wealth, 8 million. One of the elders in the Hunt family VIP room said in a raspy voice. Unlike Michael, they were raising the bid by almost 1 million. 8.1 million, Eve mumbled under her breath. As she expected, Michael put in an 8.1 million bid. Luckily this time, the Golden Prince did not outbid Michael. Instead, everyone remained silent. 8.1 million. Going once. Rixton looked around everyone but did not hold any expectation to receive another bid. Going twice, going thrice. Sold to the gentleman in Voldegard's room, Rixton exclaimed. Personally, Michael disliked Rixton revealing everyone's identity. It paved the way for rogue cultivators to ambush them. At first, Michael thought the auction would be anonymous. However, he was proven wrong. Michael exhaled deeply. Why did you buy that? Eve asked. Her voice was full of curiosity. I have a feeling it might be of help to me in the future, said Michael nonchalantly. Since Michael was a convincing liar, Eve didn't doubt his words. After all, Michael couldn't say he bought the ice core to upgrade his Doombringer. Oh, Eve nodded. A young girl entered their room with a space ring a while later. The Aqua Palace showed its wealth by giving a space ring like a paper bag. After Michael transferred the 8.1 million using his pay cube, the young girl bowed, handed over the space ring, and left the room. Michael inspected the space ring, though he didn't dare to take out the ice core outside. It might be useless, but the ice core was cold enough to the point it would chill their bones. Putting the space ring inside the system storage, Michael focused back on Rixton. After buying the ancient ice core, Michael's mood was elevated. Under everyone's gazes, Rixton waved his hand. But instead of an iron pillar as before, something else emerged from the ground. Countless gasps resonated throughout the arena. Even Michael's eyes went wide as they could. It was the skeleton of a dragon. Compared to the skeleton, Rixton looked tiny. The dragon's skeleton cast a large shadow on the ground. Everyone in the arena trembled just by the sheer size of the skeleton. The skeleton radiated a weak purplish smoke from its bones. When Michael looked closer, he noticed the several runes carved in the bones. Somehow he felt like they weren't man-made. Under everyone's stunned gazes, Rixton began to describe the dragon skeleton. Judging by the energy radiation around the skeleton, the dragon was at the fusion stage level 10. The skeleton reminded Michael of a fusion stage cultivator skeleton he saw in the Nether Realm. At that time, the youngsters, including Noah, had to share the skeleton. With the help of the system, Michael managed to get the femur, the largest bone in a body for Gaia. A simple human femur was enough for Gaia to advance 5 levels within a few months. What was in front of them was not a mere human skeleton but a dragon's. Furthermore, it was in complete form. Anyone who buys the skeleton could significantly increase their power in a short amount of time. One small in the dragon's body was several times bigger than a human femur. So Michael could only imagine how long a cultivator would be able to absorb the energy from the skeleton. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a skeleton of a royal dragon that roamed the lands 300 years ago. According to our experts, it died in the tribulation during its breakthrough to the half-immortal stage. Despite being buried under the ground for 300 years, the skeleton still possesses pure celestial and arch energy. So I don't have to tell you about having a pure energy resource such as this skeleton at your disposal. It could turn your hall into a well of energy. If you have this skeleton, you won't have to worry about bottlenecks in your life, Rixton exclaimed. There was a tinge of jealousy in Rixton's voice. The starting price of the skeleton is 300 million. Everyone who heard the extravagant amount shuddered. 320 million. Before the people could begin to murmur, the voice of the Golden Prince swept across the arena. Since Michael knew he wouldn't be able even to reach the skeleton, he decided to lean back, have some grapes and enjoy the auction. 400 million. To Michael's astonishment, Gaia raised the bid to 400 million. Elia, what the hell are you doing? Eve's eyes were filled with shock and fright. Let's have some fun, Gaia giggled. Her devilishness stupefied the elders completely. They were about to rebuke when the Golden Prince placed another bid. 450 million, 500 million, Gaia raised the bid again. She was confident the nobles would go up to a minimum of 800 million. Knowing Gaia, Nightmare remained silent as he knew there was no point arguing with her. Moreover, Nightmare felt a little pity for the dragon. After all, the dragon was one of his kind. 600 million. The Hunt family elder raised the bid by 100 million calmly as though it was a small amount. 700 million. Once again the Golden Prince raised the bid. Judging by the tone of his voice, Michael knew the prince wouldn't back down without a fight. He threw a grape into his mouth and watched the auction unraveling before him. 750 million, the Hunt family elder exclaimed in his raspy voice. The following minutes passed with the Golden Prince and the Hunt family bidding against each other. In a few minutes, the bid for the dragon went from 300 to 950. Such an extravagant amount shook everyone. When the bid reached 1 billion, the Hunt family elders stopped bidding. Everyone, including Michael, became jealous of the Golden Prince for nabbing valuable items like candies. 1 billion once, twice, 2 billion. A melodious voice resonated in the area. Her voice was like music to her. Unknowing to many, a smile formed on their faces. Except for Michael, Gaia, and Nightmare, none recognized the voice, not even the Golden Prince. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Wow! Michael's brows arched up. He knew Layla was rich, but he had never thought Layla was a freaking billionaire, not even in his dreams. Silence fell over the arena. Everyone looked in the voice's direction. 2.3 billion. The Golden Prince did not back off that easily. Those close to the Empress knew she valued artifacts and relics more than gold coins. As a living immortal, she had accumulated thousands of princess artifacts throughout her lifetime and hadn't slowed down yet. Only a few who were close to the Empress knew the secret vault filled with countless artifacts. Once he brought the dragon skeleton to the Empress, the Golden Prince had no doubt she would award him with something priceless. However, his funds were not unlimited. Once the opponent goes past 4 billion, he would be forced to stop bidding. No matter one's status, the Aqua Palace had strict restrictions on the payment. In case he failed to pay the servant with the gold coins, he would not only be banned from the Aqua Palace for life, but also serve 50 to 60 years in a prison built on the southern continent. 3 billion. Layla wasn't playing either. She raised the bid to 3 billion without blinking an eye. Who is she? Eve couldn't help raising her brows in shock. 3.5 billion, 4 billion. Layla reached the Golden Prince's last line. People didn't even gasp at that moment as they were all totally dumbfounded. My lady. The entire Gondolin will be in your debt if you be kind and let go of the skeleton. The Golden Prince finally used his family background to persuade Layla to stop bidding against him. Once she agreed, the prince planned to raise the bid to 4.1 billion. At that time, the dragon skeleton would be his. At least that's what the prince thought. Contrary to his expectation, Layla did not even respond. Knowing Layla, Michael knew the prince has a better chance of negotiating with the mountain troll than her. It seemed to Michael that the dragon might be the reason for Layla's appearance. He remembered Gaia saying something about a fusion stage cultivator needing a massive amount of energy to enter the tribulation before reaching the half-immortal stage. Judging by the vast amount of energy radiated by the dragon skeleton, it was possible that Layla wants the dragon skeleton to substitute the energy requirement. But Michael wondered whether the dragon skeleton was worth the price of crossing the Golden Prince. Even though Layla was a fusion stage cultivator, she belonged to no major power while the Golden Prince had the backing of an empire behind him. So unless she had the backing of Maxim Barnes, it was not a great move to go against the Golden Prince, to be honest. Seeing no response from Layla, Rixton had no choice but to continue the auction. 4 billion once, 4 billion twice. Rixton paused for a moment, leaving a short amount of time for the Golden Prince to negotiate. But the Golden Prince decided not to negotiate anymore so he could save his face. Sold to the lovely lady in the VIP room of Thusia. The Golden Prince's silence churned a bad feeling in Michael's gut. However, it wasn't Michael's responsibility to save Layla. She made the decision to go against the Golden Prince, and in case the Golden Prince decided to retaliate, she had to face the consequences. As far as Michael was concerned, she wasn't a little girl that needed saving. After the dragon, several other artifacts, including a few legendary spell scrolls, got auctioned, but none of them interested Michael. He could buy unique legendary spells from the system store itself. There was no need to waste his gold coins. When the daylight slowly dimmed out, Rixton finally stopped the auction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in the Aqua auction. Tomorrow will be the last and final day of this year's Aqua auction. Believe me, there are plenty of surprises for you tomorrow. So please be sure to attend the auction tomorrow. Until then, have a nice and safe day. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 631. Initializing the order of death. Once Michael had returned to his room next to Eve's, he disappeared from the room, leaving Nightmare to guard the room and inform him if someone came looking for him. Michael didn't even rest on the bed for a moment before teleporting to the crypt with Gaia. When he arrived at the crypt, he was welcomed by a large round table surrounded by his subordinates. Contrary to what he had seen before, the crypt was clean and spotless. There were no bloodstains on the walls, the floor was spotless, and the gloomy crypt was lit with a grandeur chandelier. Regardless of the bright chandelier, everyone's faces were dark and gloomy. Surrounding the table was Maxine, Corey, Tiberius, Caius, Gibson, Arya, Delar, Titus, and Optimus. Even Sadie was invited to the crypt. My lord, my lady. Azazel pulled the two thrones for Michael and Gaia to sit. For a moment, Michael remained silent. He scanned everyone's face. All of his subordinates averted their gazes. Maxine. Michael turned his eyes to Maxine, who sat closer to Michael. Did you take care of the burial? Asked Michael. Yes, my lord. Maxine stammered in fear. To their surprise, Michael did not act as they expected. He remained calm. Tiberius. Michael looked at Tiberius. Why didn't you tell me or her before you went to that meeting? Due to Michael's demonic voice, they failed to guess whether he was mad, disappointed, or just simply asking. Tiberius was speechless for a second. He finally managed to answer Michael. To be honest, we thought we could handle it. Obviously, we thought wrong. So whatever punishment you have in mind, I can take it, Tiberius sighed. Michael noticed Sadie clenching her fist suddenly as though she didn't want to see him punish Tiberius. You did nothing wrong. The fault is mine, his words shocked everyone. They all expected the Dark Lord to punish or at the very least, shout at Tiberius. Contrary to their expectation, they heard the Dark Lord blames himself. My lord, Maxine mumbled as Michael raised his hand. Although I recruited all of you, I neglected to create a hierarchy and a good way to communicate among yourselves. But that ends now. Today, We are beginning a new chapter in this world. Today, the Order of Death will be reborn. Michael slowly rose from his throne. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. From now on, you will address me as the Dark Lord and her as the Dark Queen. Michael looked at Gaia for a moment before turning his gaze back to them. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Freeweb Novel. Com to experience faster update speed. Each of you will address the other in the room by Lord or Lady, said Michael. After Heinberg died, Michael and Gaia knew it was time they properly build up the order. Until now, ironically, there was no order in the order. Little things such as how the members addressed themselves mattered. Without strict discipline and rules, eventually, the order would fail, just like before. We are the Shadow Empire that will rule this world. I don't have to tell you how fucked up this world is. Slavery, famine, hunger, experiments on people, innocent people getting crushed by the wealthy, weak getting weaker, strong getting stronger, and the list goes on. We will sit here all day if I list everything wrong with this world. Put simply, the 8 great clans in the Sky Hall are the sicknesses and we are the cure, said Michael before pausing for a second. He let his words sink into their heads. Like any government, we need a hierarchy and order. Dark Queen. Michael looked at Gaia as she rose from her throne. Leaving the explaining things to Gaia, Michael plunged onto his throne once again. Azazel came to his side and stood beside his throne like a good servant. Each of you is either a king or a queen. You're allowed to have ministers as many as you need. But, Gaia raised her finger, under no circumstance, a monster is to know the other king or a queen at this table. Otherwise, one minister could reveal all your identities to the 8 great clans and destroy the order in a couple of days. After all, many empires fall not to foes who fight in front of them but to the traitors behind them. This brings me to my next topic, recruitment. Gaia glanced at the people. Like any organization, Gaia prioritized talent and loyalty over anything. If the order was her kingdom, Gaia would rather have 100 loyal talented people under her command than 1,000 rich nobles. I want 3 things from all of you and the people you choose to join our order. Gaia raised 3 fingers. Loyalty, talent, and the will to do whatever is necessary. You are here because you all have these 3. So when you choose someone, he or she must have the 3 qualities I mentioned. Now when you find someone you want to recruit, you don't go and tell everything about us. There is a certain process to recruit someone. Before I explain the process, we have to assign certain tasks to you. I and Dark Lord derive tasks according to your strengths. First, Tiberius. Gaia gestured at Tiberius to stand. Tiberius, you are a warrior and an excellent leader. You fought against slavery and in a short amount of time, you have built a safe haven for all the freedom fighters. Soon, the Order will help you wipe out slavery from the southern continent completely. Tiberius couldn't help feeling grateful towards the Dark Lord hearing the Dark Queen. Just as the Dark Lord promised him, he helped Tiberius free hundreds of slaves from nobles and helped him build an entire kingdom for all the freedom fighters through Caius. Thanks to the Dark Lord, all the slaves now had a destination, a place where they could be free without the fear of nobles. But his word was far from over. Until he freed the last slave, he wouldn't stop fighting for them. With the help of the Dark Lord, it was not a pipe dream. So I will bestow you the title of King of War. Any and every military or war-related thing on land the Order face will go through you. You will receive the necessary tools and training soon. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Asked Gaia. Without saying a word, Tiberius stepped back and dropped to one knee. I accept, Dark Queen. Good, Gaia nodded. Michael did not plan anything dramatic but decided to keep everything simple. After Tiberius went back to his seat, Gaia turned her gaze towards Corey. Without uttering a word, Corey rose from her chair. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Corey, you built an army and became a pirate lord with brains. Just like Tiberius, you are also an excellent leader and captain. Hence, I name you and the Queen of the Seas. You will lead the naval army of the Order. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? I accept, Dark Queen. Just like Tiberius, Corey also bent her knees to Michael. Next, Arya. Arya rose up. Her brothers felt overwhelmed by the pressure they felt from everyone in the room. To be honest, they couldn't believe their little sister has become an assassin under the Dark Lord. Although they felt grateful for the Dark Lord, they still had some concerns about their sister's safety. I don't have to tell you again what the Dark Lord did to you. He brought your brothers back to life. He is a god to you. I am eternally grateful to the Dark Lord and to you, Dark Queen, Arya spoke with confidence. Killing people had turned the soft, delicate girl into a dominant assassin, who feared no one except the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen. The Dark Lord and I decided to train you until you become the deadliest assassin in this entire world. At that time, you will lead the assassin guild the Order will build. So hereby I name you the Queen of the Shadows. You will receive orders soon. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Asked Gaia. As everyone expected, Arya dropped to one knee, but unlike others, she drew her dagger, cutting her palm. My life is yours to command, Dark Lord, Dark Queen. Good. But let's not think about dying anytime soon. Every one of you will become immortals under the Dark Lord. Gaia startled everyone with her words. But none dared to question her. Caius. When Caius heard his name on the Dark Queen's lips, he shuddered. Even after serving them for a long time, he still feared them. He slowly rose from his chair. Deep down, the old man felt excited to get initiated into the Order. This was once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and he planned to capitalize it. From one of the senators to the man who controls 2 kingdoms, you have served us well. No one is better suited to rule the southern continent to prosperity than you. So I name you the king of the southern continent. Despite the humongous task before you, we believe you won't disappoint us. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Caius dropped to his knee, placed his hand on his chest, and bowed. I won't fail you, Dark Lord, Dark Queen, Gaia and Michael nodded. After Caius, Dalar saw the Dark Queen looking straight at him. He served the Dark Lord longer than everyone in the room. Everything from the moment he saw the Dark Lord kills a human in the Nether Realm to this moment felt like a dream to him. Serving the Dark Lord was the best decision he had made in his entire life. Suppose had rejected the Dark Lord's offer, he would have either died or just been an orc who could summon a few netherils. But now, he could not only summon the undead but command the alpha undead themselves. When he rose up, he saw the other humans look at him in awe. His tall stature, green thick skin, and muscular build drew their attention like a magnet. You served us the longest, Dalar. With the Dark Lord's help, you managed to achieve many breakthroughs. You are not a mere summoner anymore. I name you the King of the Undead. You will command the undead army in the future. Soon, you will have everything you need to further improve yourself in summoning and controlling the undead. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? To be continued. Chapter 632. Initializing the Order of Death 2. Initializing the Order of Death. After Dalar returned to his seat, Gaia chose Gibson. He rose up from his chair. Gibson, you are someone we both didn't fully utilize. Your experience in navigation and ability to keep the pirates together from killing each other is truly amazing, Gaia chuckled, lighting the mood a bit. If Kori is the Queen of the Seas, you will be the King of the Skies. You will command the Air Force we are about to build. Until then, you're to commandeer the Big Bertha and hunt down the rogue pirates. Although Michael eradicated the pirates after killing Vance, there were some pirates who went rogue instead of serving under Michael. They preferred to stick to the old ways than serve someone else. Michael received reports about these rogue pirates from Kori, but he decided to let them roam around until this moment. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Asked Gaia. As expected, Gibson dropped to his knee and swore his loyalty to Michael and Gaia. At this moment, only Titus, Optimus, Sadie, and Maxine remained without a task or title. It changed for Sadie when Gaia turned her gaze toward her. Sadie took a deep breath, rising from her chair. Sadie Kaplan. Gaia didn't show any hatred towards Sadie in her voice. Granted, Sadie and Michael had a thing when they were in the river town. Gaia used to hate Sadie to the core, but everything changed after Michael put a ring around her finger. Compared to others on the table, you know about the true face of the Guardians more. You witnessed how they stood aside, doing nothing when your fellow sisters were ravaged and sold as slaves to the southern continent. The Guardians knew this and still used them as bait to catch the Dark Lord. The Guardians called the Dark Lord evil, but how many girls went missing after you agreed to serve the Dark Lord? None, Gaia exclaimed. We will use the girls in your sect. Gaia's words stunned everyone, but her following words calmed them down. But not as the guardians or the others. We will never ask the girls to whore themselves for us. By agreeing to serve the Dark Lord, you made sure the girls lived with dignity as everyone should in this world. Instead, we will gather information through the girls. Knowledge is wealth, and you are sitting on an untapped treasure trove. So I name you as the Queen of Whispers. Soon you will know everything that happens in the world. Sadie Kaplan, do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Sadie took a deep breath as she knew there was no turning back now. Deep down, she saw no reason to turn back. If it weren't the Dark Lord, someone else would use them. That wouldn't change for the Silver Moon. The world would always treat them as sluts due to their cultivation method. At least if she served the Dark Lord, her sisters would be safe. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Freeweb Novel. Calm to experience faster update speed. I accept and serve you with the best of my ability, Dark Lord, Dark Queen. Sadie knelt down. To their surprise, the Dark Lord opened his mouth. I see you have reached the core strengthening stage. But your sex cultivation method brings you more harm than good. Soon, I will grant you a new cultivation method. Introduce that to your sect and put a stop to getting slut-shamed once and for all. Sadie's heart skipped a beat. Then, her eyes automatically watered. Since these words were spoken by the Dark Lord, she knew it wasn't a false promise. If someone could show a new way of cultivating, it was him. Of course, Michael didn't promise Sadie completely out of the goodness in his heart. Among all his subordinates, Sadie was the most important one. He could replace Lord information with Sadie and create a powerful web of spies throughout the world. Knowledge was a powerful weapon in this world if one knows how to use it. Using the Silver Moon girls, he could mine the information from every corner of the world. The nobles tended to spit out valuable information when they were in the company of pretty girls. Once he built the Silver Moon sect in every kingdom, they would function as a treasure trove of information. Coupled with his spiders and drones, Silver Moon could be his most powerful asset. Thank you, Dark Lord, Sadie bowed. The moment Michael upgraded the system to the next level, he planned to buy a new cultivation technique for the Silver Moon girls. If the girls weren't strong enough to protect themselves, many nobles would feast on them like animals. By being strong, those girls could protect themselves rather than depend on someone else. Michael was sure the system would have something super powerful to speed up their cultivation by other means instead of leeching off someone's lust. After Sadie returned to her seat, Gaia looked at Maxine. When Gaia met Maxine, she was a fat plumpy woman to the point Maxine could kill a commoner by rolling on them. However, after a few moments, the plumpy woman was nowhere to be seen. Instead, all they could see was a fit young woman with just enough fat to make her pretty. Maxine! Maxine rose from her chair. Her eyes were filled with devotion towards the Dark Lord and the Order. There is no need for me to explain how important you are to the Order and how loyal you are to us. I have no doubt whatever task we give you, you will serve us with pride and joy. Gaia patted Maxine on the shoulder as Maxine shed tears of happiness. I am not worthy of such praise, Dark Queen. You are Maxine. That's why I am naming you the Queen of Power. What you are doing in Stormville Mountain is of grave importance. The reason why I named you the Queen of Power is your task can and will make everyone stronger and more powerful, including the people in the hall. Soon, you will receive the necessary tools to create more devices that would enable everyone to cultivate, even inside the void line. They all shuddered. Up to this moment, only Maxine, Tiberius, and Corey received the device that uses arch-energy crystals to perform simple tasks such as accessing space rings or conjuring a small orb of fire. However, Michael planned to build better devices to enable his subordinates to cultivate with the help of Eladir. Now that he had made a deal with Hydra, he didn't worry about waking it up. He could even send special mining devices to mine Stormville Mountain deeper. Once he built these devices, his subordinates could cultivate whether they were in or outside the void line. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Maxine immediately dropped to one knee. Until I draw my last breath, Dark Queen, Michael nodded. Among everyone, she was the most loyal subordinate. To be honest, Michael felt lucky to have a hard-working, loyal subordinate such as Maxine. Just her physical transformation was enough for Michael to keep Maxine in high regard than the others. He had no doubt Maxine would serve him to the best of her abilities. Finally, Gaia and Michael turned their gazes to Titus and Optimus. The twins rose from their chairs, looking a bit nervous. Compared to the rest, they had the least experience serving the Dark Lord. Except for Tiberius and Arya, they didn't know the others. This was the first time they had seen all the subordinates under one roof. They had only heard about the others from Arya before this moment. Titus, Optimus, Gaia uttered their names slowly. Despite your knack for battle and wars, I have a feeling you don't want to fight anymore. Am I right? She spoke exactly what they were thinking, as though she had read their minds. After fighting like animals for entertainment, almost dying, and leaving their little sister alone, Titus and Optimus lost their fire to fight. This was their second chance, and they wanted to live doing something else other than fighting for someone. They fought enough for one lifetime. Since the Dark Queen obviously knew what was in their mind, they chose to nod their heads. Yes, Dark Queen, said Titus and Optimus in unison. You had fought enough for one lifetime. Once again, she spoke exactly what they were thinking in their minds. It creeped and terrified them at the same time. There are many other ways to help the Order without shedding blood. And I will give something just as important as killing our foes. To be honest, that was the reason why we placed you in the Bradford Army. We wanted you to get acquainted with people other than Southerners. If Sadie is tasked with gathering information, you two will procure resources, materials, and weapons. Thus, I name you as the kings of supplies. I know it's completely different and out of your expertise, but with enough training, we are sure you will satisfy and exceed our expectations. Tiberius was completely taken aback by surprise. The twins were better fighters than even him. Yet, the Dark Queen had chosen to assign them to acquire materials. It seemed like a waste of talent to him. But knowing the Dark Lord, it was hard to believe he had made a mistake. To Tiberius' shock, the twins and Arya looked relieved and even delighted. So tell me, Titus and Optimus, do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? We accept wholeheartedly, Dark Queen. The twins dropped to one knee, placing their hands on the chest. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 633. System Version 6.0. When everything was said and done, Michael flicked his wrist. A wooden box materialized before every single on the table. Open it, said Gaia. The subordinates stared at the wooden box in front of them for a moment. Silence fell over them. Eventually, they opened the wooden box to see a dull-looking silver chain with a spider pendant attached, a ring, a tiny tubular object, and a small arch energy crystal. Wear the chain and put on the ring, Gaia instructed them. After they all did what they were told, Gaia began to explain the reason why they gave a pendant and a space ring. That spider pendant attached to the chain lets us see what you see. Gaia waved her hand as handheld mirrors appeared before each subordinate. They noticed the mirrors showing what they were seeing. Some of them moved the spider around. The scenery in their mirrors changes. Except for Maxine, who knew about the spiders, the rest seemed stunned. You are to wear the spider all the time except when you want privacy. But you have to inform Azazel. How to contact him. Put the earpiece into your ear. Gaia opened her hands, showing the earpiece to everyone. The subordinates nodded before taking the earpiece from the box and putting it in their ears. Place your hand on the arch energy crystal. The subordinates one by one grabbed the glowing blue crystal lying on the wooden box's bottom. Sadie was the first to feel a storage sensation in her body when she touched the crystal. A few seconds later, her eyes went wide. A sliver of arch energy coursed through her veins. She felt a connection to the space ring on her finger and the earpiece she just put in her ear. Unlike the rest, Sadie knew the feeling of arch energy. So without a doubt, she could tell she had just felt arch energy within the void line. Although the others took longer to feel the strange sensation, they all shared the same stunned expressions on their faces. This device will let you communicate with Azazel, Gaia's words sounded inside their heads. The words of Gaia felt like a whisper, but the subordinates heard each of them clearly. It took them several seconds before they realized the words coming from the device in their ear. Now I know most of you aren't familiar with the feeling of arch energy. But try to focus your mind to send a message. Feel the connection with the earpiece. Speak your names. Sadie. Sadie sent a message, looking at Azazel. When the old butler nodded, A gentle smile formed on her face. One by one, all the subordinates successfully sent a message. Of course, some failed, but Gaia didn't move on until everyone successfully spoke into the earpiece. "They did it, my lady," Azazel informed Gaia. There was a tinge of pride in her heart. Although it was such a simple menial task, Gaia very well knew the grave importance of communication. With the silver chain and earpiece, the subordinates could contact Azazel any time. "You will be called this day every month. Under no circumstances are you to miss this gathering unless you are dead." Gaia's voice turned cold for a moment. "Since you are all kings and queens, you need ministers and minions to do your bidding. From the next gathering, you can submit profiles of people you want to recruit to us. Also, this goes without saying, if you utter a single word about the Order or the Dark Lord, I will make you wish you were dead." They all could feel the sudden chillness in the air. "If you have any questions or thoughts, you are free to speak now," said Gaia. After several seconds she sat on her throne. Tiberius cleared his throat. He stood up. "Dark Lord, what should we do about Quintus and the assassin who killed Heinberg?" The subordinates turned their gazes toward the Dark Lord, expecting to hear his answer. "That's your first task," Michael slowly said. "Coordinate with your fellow member, locate Quintus, and only if you can't kill him, contact Azazel for backup." Michael raised his finger. "Training wheels are off from today." Tiberius nodded with absolute killing intent in his eyes. After Tiberius sat down, Corey rose from her chair. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Pardon me for my dumbness, Dark Lord, but what are our tasks? Corey scratched her head. She was proud and delighted to receive titles, but they didn't tell her what to do next. To be honest, Corey had no idea at all. "You're the queen of the seas. Do whatever you like and can to strengthen your domain. That goes for everyone. Strengthen yourselves and your domains. Be better, be the best." Michael's thick voice resonated in the hall. With his words, they started to have some idea about their future. "Coordinate with your fellow members when you need help or others' expertise. Remember this." Michael rose from his throne. He glanced at the subordinates briefly for a few moments. "The people around you at the table are your family. Etch that into your brain deep. Got it?" The subordinates bopped their heads up and down. "If you don't have anything to say, you can leave," said Gaia. They all remained silent without anything to say. Thus, Michael willed the system to teleport them back to where they came from. After the subordinates left the crypt, Michael exhaled deeply before collapsing onto the throne. Silence fell for several seconds. Michael looked at the empty hall and the empty chairs around the table. He felt proud. A strange sense of achievement rose in his heart. "That went okay." Michael removed his mask, threw it on the table, and put his legs atop. "Azazel." Michael called for his demon butler. He walked around the throne to stand before Michael's eyes. "You are more important to us and the Order. I hope you know that," said Michael. Although Michael's soul bounded Azazel with him, the demon had his own personality and thoughts. He wasn't a robot programmed to serve him until the end of times. It would be troublesome if the demon butler thought he was not as important as the other subordinates. So Michael wanted to clear things up before the demon butler could think like that. "I am honored, my lord." Azazel's words and the look in his eyes satisfied Michael. "Return to the dark forest and monitor the subordinates." "As you wish," bowed Azazel. After dismissing Azazel, Michael waved his hand as a stack of gold coins appeared on the table. The mound of gold coins lit the place with its radiant gold light. "What are you going to do?" asked Gaia. Judging by the stacks, Gaia could tell there were at least 10 million gold coins. Her guess was spot on. The mound of gold coins contained exactly 10 million gold coins. "Turning them into power," Michael calmly said. Since they were alone in the hall, he didn't use his demonic voice. Under Gaia's curious gaze, Michael waved his hand. A bright light shot out of his body, enveloping the coins. The light swallowed the coins and in a few moments, the light disappeared along with all the coins. Gaia was startled. But when she turned her head, she saw a smile on his face. "System, how long will it take you to upgrade yourself?" Finally, the system exclaimed as though it was tired of waiting. 3 hours. "The host will not be able to use the system during this time," said the system. "Do it," Michael ordered the system. Coupled with the 300,000 badass points, The 400,000 badass points he got from converting the gold coins added a total of 700,000 badass points. As soon as Michael ordered, the badass points dropped from 700,000 to 100,000. Michael grinned despite losing the badass points and spending 10 million in a snap of time. He felt relieved to upgrade the system finally. Upon seeing the gold coins disappear, Gaia creased her brows. Whatever you did with the coins, I hope it's worth it. It is. Michael wrapped his hand around Gaia's slender waist. He pulled her closer while slowly removing her hand with the other hand. What are you doing? Chuckled Gaia. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. I think you know what I am going to do, he whispered in her ear. Although Gaia wasn't a blushing type, his words created a tinge of redness on her cheek. Upon seeing the blush, Michael pulled her even closer. He could feel her gentle breath and the sweet fragrance. Not wanting to waste the moment, Michael gently kissed Gaia on the forehead. Inch by inch, Michael lowered his lips until he met her lips. Gaia closed her eyes. Her hands explored every inch of his body. When she reached his head, she grabbed his hair and pulled his face closer to the point. Both of them enjoyed a heavenly kiss in peace and silence. After 3 hours, Michael and Gaia returned to their room. As Michael leaned back on the bed, Gaia and Nightmare slept peacefully beside him. Nightmare curled himself into a ball under Gaia's gentle embrace. Michael wanted to sleep, but he simply couldn't. The excitement to rummage through new spells kept him awake. The system upgrade is completed. Current system level 6. 0. The host can now have up to 25 subordinates. The host has received 1 free spell token as a gift for upgrading the system. The host will not get a fixed amount of experience points when slaying a cultivator. Arch Sensing Stage equals 0. Foundation Stage equals 5,000. Body Refining Stage equals 15,000. Body Strengthening Stage equals 50,000. Core Formation Stage equals 1,000,000. Core Strengthening Stage equals 2,000,000. Soul Refining Stage equals 3,000,000. Fusion Stage equals 5,000,000. Half Immortal equals 1,000,000. Immortal equals 2,000,000. Michael creased his brows, looking at the experience points. The system reduced the number of points he would kill after each kill. As a result, leveling up had become harder than ever before. His smile froze on Michael's face. What the heck is this system? Michael asked the system. There was spite in his voice. Calm down, host. The system reduces the points so the host can cross the heavenly tribulation with a 0% chance of dying. Michael's shock and bitterness somewhat calmed down after hearing the system. The system has enabled subordinate kill experience points back. Now the host will receive experience points every time a subordinate kills a cultivator. New spells have been unlocked in the system store. As though the system wanted to change his mind towards something good, it reminded him of the new spells. Just like the system planned, hearing about the new spells made him smile again. Wasting no time, Michael immediately opened the system store to buy new spells. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 634. Buying new spells. When he opened the store, glowing blue cards appeared before his eyes. Michael swiped the cards telepathically. On top of the old spells, Michael saw several new ones. But, to be honest, he had a hard time choosing one. It had been some time since he had bought a new spell. As a result, he couldn't contain his excitement, but Michael didn't let his excitement get the better of him. So Michael decided to expand all the spells and compare them before choosing one. Spell name: Guardian Blade Upgradable. Yes effect. Creates a magical floating sword that'll protect the caster for a period of time. Current level. The sword will protect the caster for 2 minutes. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 50% less damage. Spell name: Lightning Shield Upgradable. Yes effect. Creates a barrier of electric energy. Current level: Lightning Shield will absorb any magical and physical attacks below or at the body strengthening stage. Spell name: Silene's Upgradable. Yes effect. Creates a bubble in which time is stopped for a short period. Current level: the bubble lasts for 5 seconds. The area of effect is a 0.5-meter radius. Spell name: Starfire Upgradable. Yes effect. Creates a weapon of fiery energy. Current level: the fire sword's duration is 1 minute. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 50% less damage. Spell name, Demon's Wrath Upgradable. Yes, this chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed effect. Creates a beam of powerful dark plasma energy. Current level. The beam can be fired from one hand. Regardless of defenses, anyone at or below the core formation stage can be killed instantly. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 65% less damage. Spell name, Alteraro Vulgecto Upgradable. No effect. Creates a demonic portal to a different dimension. Spell name, Eyes of Doom Upgradable. Yes, effect. An ability to store dark energy in the eyes and emit it in black optic blasts. Current level. Capable of penetrating through anyone at or below the core formation stage instantly. A strange feeling of excitement rose in his heart. He couldn't choose a spell without having second thoughts. Every single spell seemed so powerful and useful. Even the Guardian Blade and the Starfire. Which one? Michael asked himself. After a deep thought, Michael waved his hand, removing the Guardian Blade and Starfire. Although those two spells seemed powerful, especially after he upgraded them, Michael didn't see any use for them at the moment. Why should he have a sword made of fire or energy when he could use Doombringer and Ignorita? Compared to the rest, those spells looked the worst. The remaining 5 spells floated before his eyes. Each of them was unique, powerful, and had its own uses. Some might look weak at the current level, but Michael knew they would become overpowered once he upgraded them. He could hardly remove a spell among the current 5. He only had 1 ticket to get a free spell, so he did not want to waste it. For a few minutes, Michael imagined him using each and every spell. He created countless scenarios in his mind to test the spells. I can buy scrolls and use portals in the world to move between realms. So I can remove the Alteraro Vulgecto. Michael waved his hand as the portal spell disappeared from his sight. As Michael thought, several portals connected to other dimensions and realms. With enough gold coins and contact, anyone could use these portals to travel between the realms. For example, Gaia used such a portal to travel to the fire realm. Unlike the other spells, the portal spell could be substituted by the portals in the world. Hence, Michael chose to remove the portal spell. Afterward, he once again focused on the spells before him. In his ghost persona, he had both offense and defense spells. Additionally, he also possessed the Black Shield to defend himself from physical attacks. However, when it comes to his Dark Lord form, he had 0 unique spells. He had been using ghost spells and betting that his enemies wouldn't escape. In case someone battled with the Dark Lord and escaped, they could eventually connect Ghost to the Dark Lord using the spells. This was a major weakness the Dark Lord had. To rectify this weakness, Michael knew he must buy at least 1 offense and defense spell that was unique to the Dark Lord. His gaze was fixed on the spell named Silenes. Even though the spell had a short duration of 5 seconds and a short area of effect, the spell's effect was a game changer. With the right weapon and skill, Michael could kill anyone and change the tide of a battle. Simply put, the spell could be his trump card. But what stopped Michael from immediately buying the spell was his lack of a powerful weapon and an offensive spell. Without them, there was no point pausing the time. At least if Michael had a teleportation spell that teleported him regardless of whether he was in a battle or not, he would have bought it. Since it wasn't the case, Michael heaved a sigh and removed the spell from the list. Nonetheless, he decided to buy the spell for sure in the near future. 3 spells were out, and 3 spells remained. Among the 3, 1 was a defensive spell, and the rest were offensive spells. His mind once again created scenarios to assess each spell's advantages and disadvantages. Having the responsive shield made the lightning shield redundant, at least at this moment. Also, the responsive shield was invisible. Therefore, connecting Ghost to Dark Lord might be a bit difficult. Besides, the best offense was the best defense. Due to those reasons, Michael removed the lightning shield from the list. Finally, there were only 2 spells before Michael. Spell name, Demon's Wrath Upgradable. Yes, effect. Creates a beam of powerful dark plasma energy. Current level. The beam can be fired from one hand. Regardless of defenses, anyone at or below the core formation stage can be killed instantly, regardless of defenses. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 65% less damage. Spell name, Eyes of Doom Upgradable. Yes, this chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed effect. An ability to store dark energy in the eyes and emit it in black optic blasts. Current level. Capable of penetrating through anyone at or below the core formation stage regardless of defenses. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 65% less damage. Upon casting the spells, each would yield the same result as the other. But what differentiated the spells was their appearance. For example, the Demon's Wrath would let Michael fire a blast of dark plasma energy from his hand, while the Eyes of Doom would fire optic laser blasts from his eyes. Now Michael had to decide between the two spells, thinking which would make him look cooler. Eyes of Doom knocked the Demon's Wrath out of the park when he imagined himself using both spells. Firing black laser beams from his eyes undoubtedly took the crown from his point of view. With this spell, he didn't even have to raise a finger but just had to look at his opponents. Upon finally deciding, Michael willed the system to use the free token on the Eyes of Doom. Ding! The host has successfully acquired the Level 1 Eyes of Doom. Eyes of Doom current range 20 meters. System, what's the cost of buying Silenes? 500,000. Michael's heart skipped a beat when he heard the outrageous price. It made sense given the spell's effect, yet 500,000 seemed too much in his mind. Furrowing his brows, Michael asked the system. What's the cost of Eyes of Doom? Asked Michael. 500,000. Once again, the system shocked Michael, who heaved a sigh of relief. In case the Eyes of Doom was way cheaper than the Silenes, his heart would have ached for not choosing Silenes despite his reasonings. I can't wait to test this baby, Michael grinned. Exiting the system, Michael turned his gaze to Gaia. She was still peacefully sleeping with Nightmare in her embrace. He removed the blanket covering his leg up to the knees and walked towards the window. The moonless sky drew his attention. For a few moments, Michael just stared at the dark sky. Eladir. Michael established a connection to contact Eladir. Due to the task of building a teleportation array in the Dark Forest Mansion, Eladir couldn't make it to the gathering. Michael ordered Eldity to try to finish the array before they returned to Mazeroth. There were only 5 days left in their holidays. After that, Michael had to return to Mazeroth. Not that Michael wanted to graduate from Mazeroth, but he wanted to explore the Ukilun realm. It might be risky, yet if he didn't take this risk, he would lose the chance to unravel more about his enemies. The more he learns about the Sky Hall, the better chance he has of beating them. Dark Lord, Eladir's voice sounded in Michael's head. Michael sensed a bit of frustration in the Dark Elf's voice. How's everything? Asked Michael. I need more materials, Dark Lord. I can't swing my hands and create a teleportation array just like that. Work, you piece of shit. Michael heard Eladir kicking something in frustration. Upon hearing the pissed Dark Elf, Michael decided to cut his conversation short. Give a list of everything you need to Azazel. I will personally see to it. Finally, some good news. Please, get me those things as soon as possible. I could have bought them, but if I leave this array unfinished, I have to do it again from scratch, said Eladir with way less frustration than before in his voice. I will look around in the Aqua Palace. If there is a place I can get what you need, it's this place, said Michael. Watch your back, Dark Lord. Elves might seem pretty and harmless, but they are the vilest evil creatures in the entire world, Eladir warned Michael before Michael ended the communication. After everything was said and done, Michael took a deep breath. He finished everything he had in his mind for the day. Yet, one thing remained, drilling his mind. Who are you? Asked Michael, looking at the moonless dark sky. Michael recalled the black-robed woman. A strange sense of familiarity rose in his heart. But more than anything, Michael wanted to unmask the woman and learn more about her. Chapter 635. Immortal killing weapon. The next day Michael, Nightmare, and Gaia returned to their VIP room for the last day of the auction with Eve and the Elders. Since Michael spent 8 million on the Ancient Ice Core and 10 million on the banker function, he only had 7 million in his system storage and 4 million in his Grand Spire bank account. By the time they reached their room, the arena was overflowing with people. There wasn't a single empty seat in the entire arena. Even the VIP rooms got crowded with various elders. As soon as Michael plunged into his sofa, he activated his thermal vision to look into the Thusian VIP room. To his surprise, there were only silhouettes of men, not any women. She's gone, Michael mumbled under his breath. It was a good thing Layla left the Aqua Palace early. After buying a full skeleton of a dragon, many rogues and nobles might target her regardless of her cultivation stage. She was a big thing in Elon, but in Ar, where every prominent family had at least a fusion stage cultivator, her life would be in danger if she outstayed her welcome. Not to mention the Golden Prince who failed to buy the dragon skeleton even after trying to use his family background. Any plans to buy something else today? Asked Eve. Depends on the items, Gaia simply shrugged. You have something in mind? Eve turned her head to look at Michael. No one knows what they will show today. They keep the last day items tightly lid. Michael couldn't care less about the auction anymore. Even if they showed priceless items, he simply lacked the coins to buy them. He doubted he could buy something for 7 million coins. Besides, Michael came to the auction just for entertainment. Now that he had given the subordinates a roadmap of what to do, he didn't have anything for himself to do other than pass his time traveling around Ar. He leaned back, staring at the empty grass field. Michael cancelled all the noises around him, including the chit-chatter between Gaia, Eve, and Nightmare. Several minutes later, Rixton finally appeared in the sky. Ladies and gentlemen. His raspy voice echoed through the arena. The crowd instantly stopped their chatter almost simultaneously. Silence fell over the arena for a couple of minutes. They all simply watched Rixton look around the ground. A glimmer of satisfaction emerged in the old man's eyes. Finally, Rixton raised his hand. Let the final day of the Aqua auction begin. The sound of Rixton's voice, louder beyond human limit due to the arch energy. When he dropped his hand, the iron pillar slowly emerged from the ground. To everyone's surprise, they saw a piece of yellowish bone atop the pillar. Ulna, Michael mumbled to himself. Although the bone had several chips and looked ancient, there was no doubt in Michael's mind. The bone was an ulna. Whether it belonged to a human or another race member, Michael did not know. Compared to the dragon skeleton, the energy radiation coming from the ulna bone was on another level. If the energy radiated by the dragon skeleton was a pond, the energy coming from the ulna was an ocean. At the same time, Michael noticed countless runes glow in the ground around the bone. The runes harmlessly dispersed the energy radiation. Otherwise, the commoners below the core formation stage would choke to death. An immortal's bone, Gaia gasped in shock. Everyone glared at the bone without moving their gazes. But only a few like Gaia could recognize the bone's origin. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. What's with these people and bones? Michael creased his brows. This was the second time Michael saw bones startling the crowd. Unknown to Michael, the Aqua Palace sent their treasure hunters to the treacherous ocean and to the demon's grave. Both these places were basically ancient graveyards. They found the dragon's skeleton in the treacherous ocean and the immortal bone in the demon's grave. It was a dangerous expedition. The Aqua Palace lost several powerful men. But thanks to the Arctic Hall of Sea Folks, the Aqua Palace had no lack of powerful people. Unlike the cultivators on the land, the Sea Folks avoided wars. As a matter of fact, the Sea Folks only had one war several thousand years ago. But that war was nowhere close to the great wars the humans, elves, or any other race living on the land had gone through in the number of casualties. Each war put the cultivators on land several hundred years behind the sea folk. This was the major reason why the sea folks had countless fusion stage cultivators while they were such a rare commodity on the land. Many curiously waited for Rixton to explain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an arm bone of an immortal. It contains 20 times more energy than the dragon skeleton. As some of you might know, that's not what makes this bone, or any bone of an immortal, a diamond among artifacts. Rixton paused for a moment to let the people guess what made a bone of an immortal so special to the point it would cause war between kingdoms. Michael turned his gaze to Gaia. But before she could answer Michael, Rixton continued. Only a weapon made of immortal bone can kill another immortal. A simple short sentence from Rixton had caused countless gasps in the arena. Those who thought an immortal could not be killed were completely in shock, including Michael. Granted, an immortal would be completely immune to aging, sickness, and injuries. After crossing the tribulation, each step into the half-immortal stage would have a body that's free of all the above. However, that didn't mean they were invisible. Standard weapons leave no cuts as their bodies were simply too strong. But the only weapon capable of killing a half-immortal or an immortal was a weapon made of an immortal's bone. What makes the immortal bone a treasure counted by many is, Rixton raised a finger, only a weapon made from an immortal bone could kill another immortal. A strange feeling of disappointment emerged in Michael's heart. Michael's mind momentarily went blank. What was the point of calling them immortals if the immortals could be killed? Michael did not have any answer to his own question. System. Do I need an immortal bone to kill other immortals? The host can choose between various weapons and blueprints in the system store. There is no need for you to look for bones unless you have too much money and far less intelligence. Michael creased his brows, hearing the ridicule in the system's voice. He initially thought the immortals could not be killed and only he could slay them with the help of the system. Then, however, he was proven wrong. According to Rixton, anyone with a piece of immortal's bone could slay another immortal. You won't find a little piece of immortal bone, let alone a large piece such as this. It's something even the Aqua Palace could get once a century, if we are lucky. Upon hearing Rixton, many shuddered. They silently gasped. Many who sat in the first row felt their heads throb. Despite the runes, the leaking radiation still affected some people. Hence, Rixton cut his description shorter than he initially planned. He knew the elders from the prominent families didn't need any more explanation. The starting price of this immortal bone is 400 million, 500, 600, 800, 1 billion. This chapter upload first at novelbin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. 1.3 billion, 1.5 billion. The bids continued to rise rapidly. There was no pause between each bid. None of the elders seemed to let go of the bone. 2 billion, Gaia shouted from the room. 2.2 billion, as Michael expected. Someone else quickly counterbid Gaia. Silence fell over in Voldegard's room. They all stared at the rising bids in utter disarray. Even when they were in their prime, forking out 5 billion was not a simple thing. The minutes passed fast. What started at 500 million climbed so high that the Golden Prince bid 6 billion for the bone. After losing the dragon skeleton to Layla due to a lack of coins that day, the Golden Prince brought all of his wealth with him. Michael looked at the auction, feasting on the grapes beside him. Whenever he threw a grape into his mouth, someone raised the bid by 300 million. Where do you think they got this bone? Asked Michael. Demon's Grave would be my bet, said Eve. Demon's Grave, huh? Michael nodded. After completing his studies in Emazaroth, Michael could visit the Demon's Grave. With the system at his disposal, the most dangerous place in the world might become his treasure trove. Imagine how rich he would be if he found an immortal skeleton. While Michael was in deep thinking, the bid of the bone finally began to slow down. 8 billion. The Golden Prince's voice resonated in the arena. 10 billion. Suddenly, an elder from the Hunt family surprised everyone by raising the bid by 2 billion. Hunt elders. The Golden Prince initiated a conversation with the elders. Before his words, Michael didn't know the ones who counterbid the prince was the Hunts. If we counterbid each other, we can go till tomorrow. Why don't we split the bone in half? Upon hearing the Golden Prince's words, many trembled. Even Rixton stared at the prince's room with wide eyes. For a few moments, the auction stopped as silence took over the arena. Many hoped the Hunt elders would ignore the Golden Prince so they could see a battle between two monstrous powers in Ar. They were the people who hated auctions with no battles and deaths. But to their shock, the Hunt elders agreed. Only if we can also split the final bid. An elder with a raspy voice spoke. Just like that, the Aqua Palace lost billions. Allowing two bidders to communicate was a massive weakness in the auction process. Michael would make the auction anonymous if he were to open an auction house. That way, no one could sway the auction using family backgrounds or shady deals. But Michael admired the prince for striking such a deal instead of using his family background to threaten the opposition or pour more gold coins into the bid. With this deal, he got half a bone for 5 billion. Although the Golden Prince had gold coins, the Hunt family was not inferior to the Empress or the royal family. They both had almost unlimited gold coins. After all, the Hunts controlled countless businesses and connections with the sea folks themselves. As a matter of fact, they owned 5 gold mines in the Azer continent alone. Finally, the immortal bone went for the price of 10 billion, although it could have simply crossed past 15 billion. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 636. Someone from the past under the crimson-red sky, the castle of vampires stood imposingly. The vampires, adorned in complete black robes from head to toe, patrolled the castle ground in utter silence. Except for the winds howling, there was no sound across the area. As they patrolled the castle grounds, Saber appeared in the red sky out of thin air. He looked at his vampires for a moment, lingering in the sky. Saber slowly descended towards the castle. Seeing their lord, the vampires halted their steps. Their bodies went rigid as they bowed towards Saber. Despite Saber's young look, handsome face, and gentle smile on that handsome face, he was the most terrifying elder vampire among the elder vampires. Fear gleamed behind the vampire's dark hood. Under their fearful eyes, Saber landed at the doorsteps. As though the door had sensed the presence of Saber, it slowly opened with a creak. Good to be home, Saber mumbled to himself. He might be staying in Aur, the land of the Rick, but his heart always yearned for this castle. No place in this world could come anywhere close to the vampire castle as far as he was concerned. A gentle smile emerged on his face. Saber navigated through the intricate dark corridors and arrived at a gray stone wall. He placed his hand on the wall, sending a sliver of arch energy into it. In a few seconds, the wall trembled, and the gray stones slowly moved inwards, forming an archway to a dimly lit hall. When Saber stepped into the hall, he was welcomed by two cloaked figures on their knees. Their faces were completely hidden beneath their hood. Under the gray rags, grayish-like decayed faces drew a long rattling breath, as though they were trying to suck something more than air from their surroundings. Saber walked around the hall with his hands behind him. He noticed the bloody tables, blood-stained walls, and jars filled with human organs. The hall would make anyone crinkle their noses or outright throw up. However, Saber didn't even lose his smile. After going a full round around the room, Saber finally halted his steps in front of the two kneeling figures. He jumped up on a steel table, ignoring its bloodstains. Whose idea was it to create a plague in Aur? Saber asked. His voice almost sounded like a child's, a playful child's. The two cloaked figures slowly raised their heads. Silence fell over them. I asked you a question. His playful tone contained a hint of killing intent. The two cloaked figures shuddered. Eventually, a growling voice of a woman came from one of the cloaked figures. Lord Nello ordered me to create the plague, Elder Saber. The cloaked figure shivered. Is that so? Saber slightly tilted his little head. But I didn't want to, the cloaked figure panicked. Why is that? asked Saber. Because Elder Saber hasn't told me to. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Saber's grin grew wider. Good answer. Saber's voice was stark contrast to the cloaked figure. Saber turned his gaze to the cloaked figure named Nello. Nello, why did you order her to create this plague? If this old memory of mine serves me right, I didn't tell you to do so. Once again, silence enveloped the hall. No one uttered a word to break the silence. Eventually, Saber's chilling laughter cut through the silence. I turned you to do one simple task. Follow my orders. Is that difficult to do? Huh, Nello? asked Saber. His voice was full of murderous lust. A weak man would have fainted at the mere feeling of the cold aura radiating from Saber. My lord. Nello's words were abruptly cut short by Saber. With a single look, Saber created a vacuum around Nello's head. Nello gasped for air, yet there was no air around him to breathe. It's my fault. I put you here to oversee her work, not order her around. Maybe I wasn't clear about that. Saber's brows arched up. He played drums on the steel table nonchalantly. For a few minutes, Saber let Nello gasp for air without lifting a finger. Eventually, when Nello was about to lose consciousness, Saber simply waved his hand. Ah! Nello gasped for air. His chest rose up and down, frantically breathing as much air as possible. Fabia, did you know someone out there found a cure for the plague you created? Anyone from Giselle would have immediately recognized the name. Fabia Viridius, daughter of former Giselle Senator, Viridius. Michael blew the stage with all the senators of Giselle on it 7 months ago. Everyone, including Michael, thought Fabia had died in that explosion along with her father. She would have died if it wasn't for Saber, who rescued her and turned her into a vampire. Before that, Saber funded Fabia's experiments on Flamefare, almost killing Titus and Optimus. The major weaknesses all the vampires had were sunlight and thirst for blood. Saber wanted to change that. Hence, he handpicked some of the genius brains in the world and made them work for him one way or another. Among the geniuses, Fabia was the smartest. Before Michael blew the stage with her on it, she was on the verge of a breakthrough. Her brutal experiments included people native to the southern continent and cultivators. Now that she was turned into a vampire and given a portal to travel between the southern continent and Flamefair, she had a large victim pool at her disposal. No one in Flamefair knew Fabia was controlling their duke, and Saber controlled Fabia. Simply put, Saber was controlling Flamefair for decades. But Flamefair was one of the kingdoms indirectly controlled by the vampires. Every kingdom in the world had at least one vampire among them, controlling the kingdom from the shadows. That was how the vampires stayed in the shadows for such a long time. Whenever some adventurer or a scholar stumbled upon something vampire-related, they would immediately kill them before. Surprise and shock glistened in Fabia's eyes under the dark hood covering her head. I. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, you can speak freely, Fabia, seeing Fabia stutter in fear, Saber said, smiling at her. It wasn't my best work, my lord. Lord Nello only gave me a week. Any oblivious man would have been startled by her words. In a mere 1 week, Fabia created something that almost brought down the most powerful continent in the world. Suppose Michael hadn't intervened, Nello's plan would have been a success. Unfortunately, Michael threw a huge wrench in Nello's plan. If Nello had done the same a few months ago, Saber would have killed him instantly. However, everything changed. The vampires were no longer a myth. A journalist with the help of a guardian exposed them with evidence. Although it was the Royal News who published an article about the vampires, Saber had a feeling someone else puppeteered everything from behind. Was it the same person who sent a threatening letter? Saber couldn't find an answer to the question. Let's just say you had more resources and time. Would you say you can create something no one could find a cure for? Asked Saber. Yes. Fabia didn't even take a few seconds to think about it. She had monstrous trust in her abilities. With Saber's support, she knew she could create a new strain of plague that no one could cure. Her answer satisfied Saber. Her confidence and her abilities were what made her such a valuable asset. Otherwise, Saber would have let her burn to death. Looking at the smile on Saber's face, Fabia sighed inside. The smile symbolized she had evaded a death sentence from her master. But the same could not be said for Nello. To be honest, Fabia wanted Nello out of her way. He was a restriction to her experiments. A few days ago, Nello almost cancelled her plan to turn Quintus into a vampire. It took a lot of convincing. That time could have been used to do something else. So Fabia rooted for Saber to kill Nello. As far as she was concerned, he was just an obstacle between her and her success. No matter what, she had to appease Saber so he would bring her father back to life. What are you currently working on? Asked Saber. Although he didn't let his subordinates do whatever they wanted, he gave them an extent of freedom. Unlike Nello, Saber avoided micromanaging his subordinates. As long as they yield results for Saber, he funded their experiments. At the moment, Saber had 12 secret laboratories worldwide, and each one of them had a genius like Fabia working on the betterment of vampires. They were all preparing for the possible war against the Dark Lord. Hybrid soldiers, my lord. I have successfully created an assassin. Now I have put a hybrid warrior on the field and waiting for results. Fabia's voice had a tinge of pride. The assassin she created successfully killed a seasoned warrior such as Heimberg in a matter of seconds. Compared to the assassin, Fabia had more hopes and expectations for the hybrid warrior she had recently created. He was none other than General Quintus. According to Fabia's calculations, turning Quintus into a half-vampire would amplify his abilities by several folds. He could take on an army single-handedly without any use of arch energy. I want to see him in action. Where did you send your hybrid warrior? Asked Saber. He couldn't help feeling curious. Despite the mysterious one's threat, Saber decided to take a look at Fabia's new creation. He is currently waging war against Kingdom Pre-Rid, my lord. With the vampire genes in his body, Fabia knew Quintus would be turning the tide of the war single-handedly as they were speaking. Even she wanted to see his creation in action. Unfortunately, she had more pressing tasks that needed her absolute focus. Wonderful. I will see him myself. Sabway clapped his hands as he jumped down from the steel table. He stretched his arms, yawning. He turned around to leave the hall. Seeing Saber walking towards the exit, Nello sighed. However, his relief was short-lived. Before stepping into the archway, Saber just snapped his finger as Nello exploded into a bloody black mist. Clean the mess, Fabia. You got what you wished for. So get back to work now. No one will order you around anymore. Chapter 637. The Demon Commander back on Elon. Noah sat near the calm pond, meditating. His chest rose and fell with a certain rhythm. He became one with the blowing wind around him. Noah allowed no guards in the Guardian when he meditated. Thus, only the withered trees and flower plants accompanied him. Once in a while, a few snowy flakes gently danced down, swaying in the wind. Whenever a snowflake hit the calm pond, Noah's eyes would twitch. While Noah was meditating, Yasmin Winston entered the garden. Unlike when she met Ghost, she was in light blue robes void of any armor pieces. She slowly walked towards Noah on the paved pathway. Her sword dangled around her waist every time she took a step. Noah's ear twitched. "My dear cousin," Yasmin said with a playful tone. Thanks to Yasmin, Noah's 2 days of meditation finally came to a halt. He slowly opened his eyes. The clear pond and the red maple tree on the other side was a magnificent view in Noah's mind. In his 2 decades of life, he meditated in several places. Some of these places were dreams for a rogue cultivator. But to Noah, the garden created by his mother was the best place to meditate. It had certain tranquility the other places lacked. Yasmin. Noah looked over his shoulder to see his cousin standing a couple of meters behind him. "So this is what you do in your free time?" asked Yasmin. "Meditation is just as important as cultivation. A calm mind is a weapon of itself." Noah turned around. His eyes were just as calm as the pond behind him. Unknowing to Noah himself, he radiated a powerful aura. Normal cultivators failed to sense this aura, but Yasmin did. It would have been a surprise if she failed to sense it. After all, she was created by one of the elders in Sky Hall. Noah and his family were completely oblivious to the fact Yasmin was a clone. The elders created Yasmin with one objective in their minds: monitor Noah Winston and report everything back to the Sky Hall. Despite being a clone, Yasmin inherited all the memories and habits of the Bodis owner, the real Yasmin Watson. "Where is everyone?" asked Noah. He looked around for a moment, climbing down the steps of the elevated platform he was meditating on. Inside, discussing the war, as usual. "Are you going with your father to the front lines?" Yasmin asked nonchalantly. Instead of giving her an answer, Noah walked through the withered plants resulting from the upcoming winter. Usually, by this time, the garden would be filled with chirping birds, squirrels, and beautiful flowers that danced with the wind. However, the cold winter breeze changed the scenery. "War should be our last resort. It's a pity Duke Avon is so desperate for it. One man's ego is going to destroy so many lives," Noah sighed. His heart ached thinking of all the destruction and deaths a war would bring. When the vampire clan was out there lusting for their blood, humankind and all the races should be united. Yet they were all ignorant and fighting among themselves. Although Noah hated wars, he knew some of them were just inevitable, just like the one between Ice Fair and Flame Fair. Due to Alicia's family, Noah's family had to side with Duke Marvin, the Duke of Penn Town, in the upcoming war. Thinking about the war, Noah wished he was at the fusion stage. If he was, he could have stopped the war once and for all. Only because of his search for the Dark Lord killing arrows made by Maze-Roth founders, did he not get enough time to cultivate. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. It had been 2 months since Noah had any breakthroughs in his cultivation. He was stuck in the core strengthening stage level 8 and couldn't reach the next level. For a normal cultivator, going without having a breakthrough for a couple of months was nothing. They only leveled up once a year or so. But for Noah, it was strange, very strange. Obviously, the Sky Hall noticed Noah's cultivation being halted. So they sent Yasmin to fix the situation. After all, if Noah wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't be able to fight the Dark Lord, and if he didn't, they couldn't get rid of the Dark Lord and control the last man standing. "I need your help with something, Noah," asked Yasmin while following Noah. "What is it?" asked Noah. "In my travel with my mentor, I stumbled upon a pocket dimension filled with treasures, rare artifacts, and valuables. Apparently, it was left behind by a half-immortal, You want me to come with you? Noah halted his steps. When he turned around, Yasmin nodded. I know it's sudden, but I really need something in there. If you could help me find it, you can have anything you find there. Since you are my cousin, I won't ask for a share. How about it? Yasmin winked at Noah. Suppose someone else asked him to venture into an unknown pocket dimension. Noah would have outright rejected them. Furthermore, he would have become suspicious. However, Noah didn't even blink an eye when Yasmin asked him for help. Why? Because Noah trusted his family. For him, his family was everything. Never in a million years would he doubt his family. Yasmin Watson might be his cousin, but she was no different than his little sister Sabrina. He loved them both the same. So when she asked his help, Noah agreed right away without even considering the dangers of venturing into a pocket dimension left by a half-immortal. Even an oblivious man could tell the pocket dimension would be riddled with traps and dangerous. After all, cultivators hardly left behind their stuff with no protection. Where is this pocket dimension? Asked Noah. With a grin, Yasmin flicked her wrist as a gold ring materialized on her palm. This ring would open a portal to the pocket dimension anywhere. Toss the ring, and boom, instant portal straight to the destination. This is a rare portal ring. The pocket dimension must be ancient. Shouldn't we get more people with us? Noah creased his brows. He had heard about the portal rings from Andreas, but this was the first time he had seen one with his eyes. When Yasmin heard his question, her heart skipped a beat. Her master ordered her to bring Noah alone to the dimension. The Sky Hall elders wanted Noah to get the items left for him. If they brought others, they might get them before Noah. Even if Noah got them first, the chances of Noah sharing those gifts with others were significantly high. And share what we find with others? Hell no. Where is my cousin, you chicken? Yasmin punched Noah in the shoulder. Yasmin hid her true intention behind a playful chuckle. Unfortunately, due to Noah's weakness in the family, he couldn't see through her. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, will you at least let me say goodbye to father and mother, or should I run behind you into the pocket dimension? Noah rolled his eyes. You have 5 minutes. Yasmin raised her hand, showing 5 fingers. But what about Norvin? He can help us locate treasures. As a golden Babaru, Norvin possessed a special ability to locate treasures. Ever since Noah picked up Norvin from the forests surrounding Royal Land, the golden Babaru helped him find countless treasures. In other words, Norvin played a huge role in Noah's heaven-defying cultivation speed. Additionally, Norvin could also locate hidden traps and defense arrays. Noah knew these abilities could come in real handy once they were inside the pocket dimension. Allow him. Suddenly, Yasmin heard her master Devdan's voice in her head. The elf was watching Noah through Yasmin's eyes. What the heck? Bring him. Yasmin nodded as though it was her decision. Noah nodded back and headed towards the mansion, leaving Yasmin behind. Seeing Noah, several maids bowed and greeted him with a smile. Noah nodded back at them, eventually reaching the main hall, where he saw several people gathered around his father. Except for his mother, everyone was in their battle armor. The warriors were divided by their armor colors. One group led by an old man wore icy white armor. They were combined of the Ice Fair's Duke Declan's men and House Bellafort's men. House Winston's soldiers were adorned in pale blue armor among the other two. At the same time, Duke Marvin's men wore emerald green armor. When the soldiers saw Noah, everyone stopped their murmurings. Silence fell over them. But the silence was short-lived as the old man greeted Noah with a wide grin. There he is, my grandson-in-law. The old man's voice was full of life. His neatly combed, ashen hair was tied into a ponytail. Compared to Ethan, who was a muscular man who could destroy a tree with his hands, the old man was skin and bones. An oblivious man wouldn't even spare a second glance at the old man. But his reputation was a stark contrast to his appearance. The old man's friends and family called him Xavier, but his enemies called him the Demon. He was the reason no one dared to wage war against Ice Fair. Even the so-called sword masters of Aragoth feared to battle Xavier one-on-one. The old man was an unstoppable killing machine. One could count the warriors who could fight the old man head-to-head with swords with one hand. In his early years, Xavier fought Maxim Barnes, who was a sword master then, and came close to defeating him. Although the battle ended in a draw, Maxim still had a tinge of fear for the old man in his heart. Even to this date, Many sects and academies taught their disciples about Xavier and his sword mastery. "Grandpa," Noah greeted Xavier with a grin. The old man embraced Noah in a tight hug. Despite his thin stature, Noah felt like he was being crushed by two boulders. Seeing their commander loosening up, the soldiers looked a little bit relieved. "You look a bit exhausted. Are you eating well?" "It seems my granddaughter is failing at her duties as your fiancée." Xavier turned his gaze toward Alicia. She looked a bit flustered, but she quickly managed to throw a cold glare at her grandfather. Even though the old man was feared across Elon, he was just a doting grandfather to Alicia. Many under Xavier's command still couldn't believe there was a playful side to their demon commander. "He is worried that he's stuck at the core strengthening stage." Norvin leaped onto Noah's shoulder out of nowhere. "That's it? These old bones are stuck at the soul refining stage for years. I'd be happy if you were stuck at the core strengthening stage for a couple of more years. I cannot let a youngster outrun me. I have a reputation to protect, after all. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." Chapter 638, They Stole Ghost's Shipment. Few hours before the Aqua auction final day, inside a dimly lit room, a man was tied to a chair and beaten to a pulp. The man's face was bloody and swallowed beyond recognition. Several cuts riddled his body. Anyone with eyes could tell the man was tortured mercilessly. Slowly, the man's eyes closed. Looking at the man's head falling down, a man walked out of the shadows. He was tall, muscular, and had messy brown hair. "Lord Malin." The man turned his head to see a guard entering the room. "Lord Ricky is on his way here," the soldier said. There was a tinge of panic in his voice. "Shit," Lord Malin cussed. He wanted to heal the man in the chair so he could make him feel the pain once more. How did he know this soon? Lord Malin questioned himself. House Bradley had been escorting Ghost's shipment for a year now, and they had never faced a problem until now. The entire shipment was stolen by masked men when the carriage containing the potions and pills were traveling through the forests surrounding Kethen. A group of highly trained masked men ambushed House Bradley and Rainshade Merchant Guild guards and stole everything inside the carriage. Although the masked men managed to kill many guards and escape with the shipment, the guards caught one of the masked men. That unlucky fellow was the one in the chair, getting tortured by Malin himself. As Lord Malin was thinking about how Ricky, the right-hand man of Ghost, learned about the ambush, Ricky entered the dark room with a couple of guards of his own. As usual, they all dressed in complete black, just like their lord, Ghost. Lord Ricky, due to Ricky's appointment as a minister and his status as Ghost's right-hand man, everyone started to call him Lord Ricky. When Ricky entered the room, he noticed Malin standing there with no shirt to cover his upper body. He was stained in blood. Judging by the man tied to the chair, Ricky could tell where the blood came from. Even if the blood came from Lord Malin himself, Ricky wouldn't give a damn. He was super pissed and on the verge of killing everyone in the room. He wasn't the same gate guard Ricky anymore. After being Ghost's right-hand man and managing his affairs for a long time, Ricky became more dominant and less merciful. "Tell me he is one of the men who stole the shipment," asked Ricky. His voice was cold. Killing intent radiated out of every pore in his body. No matter what it takes, he must get back the shipment and fix the situation. That was the only way to escape the wrath of Sister Elia. "Yes," Lord Malin nodded. A year ago, Lord Milana wouldn't have spared a second look at a commoner such as Ricky. He was a lord of a noble family and a core-strengthening stage warrior. Now, he had no choice but to show respect to Ricky. "Did he tell you who stole the shipment?" asked Ricky. Fortunately, Malin received an answer from the thief after hours of torture. Ricky creased his brows as immense killing intent made the temperature in the room drop by a few degrees. "Who?" asked Ricky. "Duke Avon." He ordered his men to rob the supplies. "They are planning to use the healing potions for themselves." For a moment, Ricky was stunned. But after thinking about where the shipment was going, everything made sense. A few days ago, Lord Ethan from House Winston bought all the healing potions in preparation for the upcoming war against Flamefair. Since Lord Ethan had a good relationship with Master Ghost, Ricky sold all the healing potions along with several other products to Lord Ethan. Ricky gave his word to Lord Ethan that everything would reach his manor in 2 days. Now that the shipment had been stolen, Ricky was enraged. "You!" Ricky turned his cold gaze to the man in the chair. Looking at his frail state, Ricky flicked his wrist as a healing potion materialized in his hand. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Lift his head, Ricky ordered his men. While Lord Malin and his guards were staying behind, Ricky's men lifted up the thief's head. Ricky slowly opened the thief's mouth, pouring the healing potion into it. In a couple of seconds, Ricky emptied every single drop of the healing potion into his mouth. Lord Malin furrowed his brows. He couldn't help wondering what the heck Ricky was doing. He just wasted 15,000 gold coins worth of healing potion on a thief.
Where am it? The thief mumbled. Am I dead?
The thief was tortured to the point he doubted his reality itself. When his vision cleared, the thief's eyes went wide. Finally, he realized where he was and what he was doing.
Not yet,
Ricky answered the thief with eyes full of murderous intent.
Did Duke Avon order you to steal the shipment?
The thief did not answer. Silence occupied the room for a moment. Let me rephrase my question. Did Duke Avon order you to steal the shipment belonging to Master Ghost? The thief trembled, hearing Ricky's cold voice. Ricky's eyes turned predatory. If a gaze could kill a person, the thief would have died by now. The thief recalled what happened to him an hour ago.
Every cut, bruise and punch brought upon him made him shiver.
The thief did not want to go through that ever again. To be honest, the thief would rather die than get tortured again.
Yes, he did. It's the truth. I swear, the thief screamed.
Please let me go. The thief's voice was cut short as Ricky plunged a dagger through the thief's throat. Lord Malin was stunned. He did not even see when Ricky unsheathed his dagger. In a blink of an eye, Ricky ended the thief's life. Blood spurted out of the wound. The thief frantically twitched until his body slowly came to a stop. Ricky pulled out the dagger and cleaned the blood off of his sleeves. Such a mess, Ricky spat. He rubbed his temples. It brought Ricky a headache. Now he had to send another shipment to Lord Ethan. Moreover, he would have to answer Master Ghost and Sister Elia. The latter made him tremble in fear. How could you let this happen, Lord Malin? We cannot go ask for the shipment from Duke Avon.
It's our word against his.
Ricky exhaled deeply. Sometimes Ricky wished they sent the products in a space ring. That way, they didn't have to rely on escorts and protection. Sending everything in a space ring would be quicker, easier, and more secure. Unfortunately, Ricky knew Master Ghost strictly ordered them not to. Unlike gold coins, the potions and pills put inside a space ring would gradually lose their quality. The other alchemists didn't care about losing 1 or 2% purity. They preferred to send their products stored in a space ring. However, Michael valued quality over everything. He promoted his pills and potions by saying they are 90% pure. He charged the customers for 90% pure products, not for 89 or 88. Michael wouldn't tolerate even a 1% loss in purity. That was why Michael chartered Lord Malin's family to escort the carriages transporting his products despite the drawbacks, such as being vulnerable to ambushes. Lord Malin sighed. He was simply unable to express his bitterness on what had transpired. He lost several good men in the ambush but couldn't care less about them right now. Instead, he was more worried about meeting Ghost. We have to try before Master Ghost returns from Auror, Lord Malin said. I will use everything at my disposal and get to the bottom of it, Lord Malin vowed. You do that. But I have to inform Sect Leader Claire, Lord Malin panicked. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin.
Net. Why? Just give me some time. Hiding this from her will only make this worse, Lord Malin.
I know Master Ghost and Sister Elia. Trust me, it's better that way. Judging by Ricky's tone, Lord Malin knew there was no point arguing with Ricky. At that moment, Lord Malin wanted nothing more than Duke Avon's head. If he wanted, he could have purchased those pills and potions for gold coins. There was no need for him to steal the shipment. Fortunately, I have a second batch of shipment ready. I will personally deliver that to Lord Ethan. I will come with you, Lord Malin quickly said.
No.
I insist. Lord Malin cut Ricky's sentence short. Seeing no harm in bringing Lord Malin with him, Ricky sighed, nodding his head. Lord Malin, what should we do with the body? Asked one of Lord Malin's guards.
Cut his head and send it to Duke Avon. Before Lord Malin could give an answer to his guard, Ricky answered the guard.
If I was him, I would die in the war. Because once Sister Elia learns what he did, she will make him wish he was dead.
Ricky said before walking out of the room with Lord Malin. Back in the dark forest, Azazel saw everything that had transpired. He saw everything from how Lord Malin furiously tortured the thief to Ricky ordering the guard to cut the thief's head. A while later, Azazel slightly moved his head to see a red-haired man in his early 40s. The scar from his left eye to his upper lip gave him a villainous look. Looking at crates filled with healing potions, the man smirked. Duke Avon. Azazel coldly uttered the name. The man was the Duke of Flamefair, Avon Gilks. You're a dead man, Azazel said. Although Lord Ethan ordered and paid for the shipment, it belonged to Ghost until the shipment was delivered to the client. That was how Michael treated his business. By attacking the carriage and stealing the shipment, Duke Avon practically attacked Ghost. So the Duke had to pay for what he did. My lord, Azazel contacted Michael through the telepathic link between them. Azazel. Azazel heard Michael's voice in his head. My lord, one of our shipments were attacked and stolen. For a few moments, Azazel received no response from Michael. Who? Azazel felt a chill running down his spine when he heard Michael's murderous voice. Duke Avon, the Duke of Flame Fair, said Azazel. Chapter 639. New Elder Vampire. After leaving Fabia's laboratory, Saber headed straight to the main hall, where the other Elder Vampires were waiting for him. Among the 10 seats around the stone table, only 3 seats were taken. Trista, Lenora, and Ingram welcomed Saber with a nod. Saber slowly pulled his stone chair back. The chair made a creaking noise. Read Chapter 474 to refresh your memories about the vampires. Have you found Hakon's killer? Asked Lenora. Ingram and Trista turned their gazes to Saber. Not yet, Saber simply shrugged. He didn't share the letter he received from Harriet when he was in Aur. Elder Ingram, you wanted to talk about something. Saber ingrained the 2 lady vampires and turned his gaze to the oldest elder vampire among them, Ingram. How prepared are we to face the Dark Lord? Ingram asked. He was always the quiet one, but when he asked this question, there was gravity in his voice. Why are you asking this so suddenly, Elder Ingram? Trista asked. Among all the vampires, they only called Ingram Elder due to his age and power. To this date, the vampires didn't know Ingram's cultivation stage. He kept his powers well hidden. Because of that, Ingram was the most feared and respected. Haven't you heard what happened to the Holy Church in the Royal Land? Lenora quickly asked Trista. Of course, I heard about that. My question is, what does that have to do with us? If you ask me, the destruction of the Holy Church works in our favor, said Lenora. It has everything to do with us. The Dark Lord is hunting down everyone he deems evil. I think we qualify to be called evil all the way, chuckled Trista. Elder Ingram, unlike Lenora and Trista, Saber didn't take the threat of the Dark Lord lightly. According to what I heard, we aren't strong enough to fight the Dark Lord. If he decides to hunt us down, we will have a problem, said Saber. Silence fell over them for a few moments. We may have to call upon all the elders, at least those who are alive, Ingram calmly said. His words shocked everyone. Why? Because it had been almost 100 years since all the 10 elders gathered in one place. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Elder Ingram, are you thinking of waking up a Blood Prince? The word sent shivers down Trista and Lenora's spines. The Blood Prince was one of the ancient vampires. They were the first creations of the Vampire Lord. However, due to their violent nature and long lifespan, the Blood Princes entered a state of slumber thousands of years ago. No one knew how many Blood Princes were in this world. Their records were lost in time. For now, the elders had access to one Blood Prince. Only through a special ritual could they wake up a Blood Prince. But waking up a Blood Prince had several drawbacks. One of them was that the elders would have to listen to the Blood Prince until the Blood Prince entered the slumber state. Simply put, they would take over the Deathless clan. Ingram nodded. But Trista's words were cut short when Ingram raised his hand. I saw the Dark Lord slaughter the Holy Guards. It wasn't a battle, as the mortals claim. It was a one-sided massacre. He killed several soul refiners within a snap of time. In my eyes, he wasn't even using a fraction of his true power. The words startled Trista and Lenora. In the night, they all could reach the fusion stage level 8. That was their base cultivation power. Coupled with immunity to spell attacks, regeneration, and inhuman speed, the vampires, turned into a terrifying force of nature. A typical fusion stage cultivator would not be able to defeat the elder vampires. Unless one had a primordial flame, defeating an elder vampire was nearly impossible. We are not prepared to face him. That's the truth. Ingram's gaze swept across the other three. Waking up a blood prince may be our only way to end the threat before it ends us all, said Ingram. His voice sounded more grave than usual. Elder Ingram. We have to think this through before we act. Waking up a blood prince isn't that simple. He or she would take over the clan. They would order us around. And think about our current state. The entire world knows we exist. What if the blood prince decides we are not capable of leading the clan and choose new elders? Lenora panicked. Her words had some merit. Saber knew this. To be honest, even he wasn't entirely on board with waking up a blood prince. As far as he was concerned, waking up a blood prince had more drawbacks than benefits. However, if Elder Ingram decides to wake up a blood prince, they would have no choice but to follow him. Forget about the blood prince. If they disagreed with him, Saber knew Ingram would kill them all and replace them with new elders. Unlike Trista and Lenora, Saber witnessed Ingram slaughter a group of vampires mercilessly in the Azer continent almost 100 years ago. They were all elder vampires created by Ingram himself. Although they possessed the title of elders, they were all inferior to the elders at the Round Table. Those elder vampires were tasked to eliminate all the kings and queens in Azer at that time. To their bad luck, they failed, almost exposing the vampires in the process. As a result, Ingram slaughtered every single elder vampire without a shred of mercy. Despite his calm composure, Saber knew how cruel Ingram really was. The entire Deathless clan thought Saber was the most terrifying, but Saber himself was terrified of Ingram. Even if Trista, Lenora, and he teamed up, they would stand no chance against Ingram. Hence, Saber didn't want to go against Ingram's wishes. I lived longer than the three of you combined. I know a threat to us when I see one. The Dark Lord is a threat. Don't make me repeat my words. Ingram creased his brows. The room became colder to the point that they could all see their breath escaping their noses. His eyes glimmered with intense killing lust. We will do as you wish, Elder Ingram, Saber quickly exclaimed before the situation escalated further. But we have one tiny problem. We only have 9 elders, said Trista. No, we have 10, said Saber. But, except for Ingram, the other vampires didn't have a clue about the 10th vampire. Saber just clapped as the open space in the table's center slowly opened as a figure emerged from the ground. Upon seeing the elders, the figure dropped to one knee and removed his cloak. I turned him, and if we all agree, he can be an elder at the table, said Saber. Trista and Lenora stared at the red-haired human for a few seconds. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, why do I have the feeling I saw him somewhere before? Trista rubbed her chin. Wait a minute. Lenora recognized the scar on his face. Then she had a light of realization. You're the Duke of Flamefair, exclaimed Lenora. She was surprised, and it was visible in her tone. As Trista heard Lenora, her eyes went wide. She wondered when Saber managed to pull a Duke to the dark side. Duke Avon Jilks, raise your head, Saber ordered as Duke Avon lifted his head to look at the elder vampires before him. Although Avon looked calm, his heart was pounding. A few months ago, Avon didn't even know the vampires existed. But thanks to Fabia Viridius, whom Avon knew as the Black One, he was able to meet Saber. To his astonishment, Saber offered him the chance to become one of them. A typical man would have freaked out or outright rejected the offer, but Avon was no such man. He lusted for power more than anything. That was the reason why Avon allowed Fabia to open secret dungeons to experiment on the cultivators in the first place. With Saber behind him, Avon went to open war against not one but 2 duchies at the same time. Not only that, but he also ordered his men to steal Ghost's potion and pill shipment. Even the kings and queens of Elon dared not to go against Ghost, but to Avon, Ghost was just a mortal he could kill in a snap. After all, Saber granted him all the powers of a greater vampire. From what he had seen, no mortal, whether they were prodigies or freaks of nature, stood no chance against a vampire. Why did you choose him? Asked Lenora. Isn't it obvious? He is a duke, Trista rolled her eyes. But not only that, he was helping my servant for quite some time. This is just me rewarding his diligent support for us, said Saber. If we made him the elder,
He would win the war against the Pen Town and Ice Fair. We can control the entire kingdom of Kethen in a few months, explained Saber. Trist and Lenora turned their gazes toward Ingram. After experiencing the cold killing intent from Ingram, they did not want to cross him again. Besides, Saber was right. Controlling the Duke meant controlling his duchy. Once they could control the 3 duchies, the entire kingdom would soon be their hunting ground. They could hunt, recruit more subordinates, spread their influence, and much more. Simply put, the possibilities were endless. After contemplating for a few moments, Trista and Lenora nodded, agreeing to turn Avon into an elder. I, Lenora Beatrix, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. I, Trista Nevada, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan, Saber nodded. I, Saber Byron, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. Finally, Ingram rose from his stone chair. I, Ingram Dragon, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. In a blink of an eye, Ingram disappeared and reappeared behind Avon. Before Avon could realize what was happening, Ingram grabbed Avon's head, tilted it to a side, and sunk his fangs into Avon's neck. Blood spurted out as Avon's body twitched. One by one, the others sunk their fangs into Avon's neck. When they were done, Avon collapsed onto the ground. His body went through several changes. Finally, after approximately 2 hours, Avon woke up at his mansion as an elder vampire. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.